You're watching the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent and Austen Show.
More interviews completed. We're straight out of the catalog for Tony Baselli. Or maybe someone just bought a new lawn, as Austin said. John Eric Sullivan, Ethan Waugh, completed, done. That leaves James Gladstone. Will he be the new GM of the Jaguars? Is there a reason he's the final interview? Is it just a scheduling thing? By the way, many people thought Ethan Waugh, or at least some of those reports, again, some of those throw it against the wall reports, had Ethan Waugh as the last interview on Friday, if I'm read that correct. I haven't paid super close attention to that whiteboard scoreboard that we have on what's been thrown out there. But I'm pretty sure people had Ethan Waugh as the Friday interview. And you were wrong. So you can't believe everything everyone says. But does that mean James Gladstone has a front row seat to be the new GM of the Jags? Does that matter? Who knows? Delphonic's already all over me in the chat. The beard looks really good out there in Las Vegas. You know, there's something about that beard for Austen Lane. I mean, it is just glistening in that sunshine out in Vegas. It must be like bouncing off, the sunlight must be bouncing off the rocks and the sand and the dirt out there in the desert.
Yeah, it feels good, man. The beard feels great. Hamby, real quick, can you please put the picture back up there of Ethan Waugh?
Oh boy.
Sorry, man. I know. Hey, look at the confidence right now that Ethan Waugh is walking with, man. That meeting must have went pretty good. This dude's walking like 3 inches taller, and I get it. Tony Baselli's kind of a bigger dude, so it's hard to tell exactly how big Ethan Waugh is. There's the ghost of Trent Baalke and everything, but
Telephonic strikes again. That was classic. You know, I couldn't remember what he did. I was like, he did something else yesterday, and yesterday was kind of busy, so I was like, what else did he do? I saw he did something with this picture, and there it is.
And then who's this right here, Brent? This is the...
Oh, that was John Eric Sullivan. The other guy was John Eric Sullivan.
Sullivan's looking pretty happy too, man. So I think Sullivan's getting ready to call his wife, babe, we just got approved. Get those Egyptian linens, 25 million count.
Egyptian linens.
Got a great interest rate, babe. I'm coming home. Let's celebrate.
Is Egyptian linens, is that a thing? Is
Brent.
that high roller?
I mean, Brent, come on, man. You got some Egyptian linens in your house. I know how you get down.
No,
I'll
we
tell you
don't.
who does. Carson Beck's got some Egyptian linens.
Yeah, Carson Beck does for sure.
Yep.
I want to know how much Egyptian linens are, because I might just buy them just for fun.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't even know how much linens are to begin with. It's a $1.95 for Egyptian cotton 22-inch extra deep pocket sheets, 1,000 thread count queen. See by Egyptian
1,000?
linens.
1,000, Brent? Come on, man. You have to go at least 20K on those linens. With the
Delphonic says 700 thread count. You guys know what these thread counts even mean?
Yes, Brent, absolutely.
You guys have a lot of time on your hands.
Brent, can I ask why you were so eager to comment on Austin's beard?
Well, because now he could fit in with the New York Yankees.
Oh,
Very good.
You don't say.
The Yankees, after 50 years of saying, shave that sucker or don't play for us, said, hey, we'll allow a clean-groomed or well-groomed beard or facial hair if need be. So
Roofnet Odor better sue, because he got rocked.
He wasn't the only one, right?
Having the shave.
I mean, how many other guys? Think about some of the, like Johnny Damon, right? I mean, we went from like the idiots of the Red Sox to now clean-shaven Johnny. And by the way, his batting average, I felt like, dropped about 30 points because of it. Randy Johnson, one of those guys, I believe, as well. I mean, think a bunch of people, bunch of players over the years. Was Mattingly a thing? Do you guys remember that? It would have been before your time, definitely before Hamby's time. Do you remember that at all, Austin? I thought Mattingly had the mustache, and that was like a little bit of a to-do back in the day, if I remember. But isn't this pretty wild that in today's day and age, we get to 2025, and the Yankees have to put out a statement about facial hair, and they could get away with this for all this time?
Crazy times we're living in, Brent. Yeah, it's unreal. It's unreal. Do they allow like tattoos on the forearms and stuff or not?
Oh, I think they're. Yeah, I don't think the tattoos are a problem.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
Well, you
Okay.
can't. You can't shave those off. I guess you could cover them up, but I mean, the beard
Exactly.
you can remove and then grow back. You're a little stuck on the
guess.
We are
Yeah,
not
that's true.
signing a free agent that has tattoos. Well, good luck.
That's a good point.
Yeah, good
That's
luck.
a great point. Yeah,
So
yeah.
a little forced into that one. I'm serious though. Are you just a little surprised that there wasn't a bigger situation over the years for the New York Yankees? That somebody was just like, well, what the heck? Raised a big fuss or players union. And again, maybe there was more of this than I thought.
Yeah.
You really like this setup, huh, Hamby?
Brent.
That is rough. That's rough, man.
He looks like he got about 15 years younger. At
Yeah,
least.
man. I mean, that picture on the right looks like he's going to go with Napoleon Dynamite to go cast a vote for somebody. That's a deep cut, but yeah. Some will get that, some won't get that. Brent, you probably won't get that. It's all good. No, I mean, I'm a little surprised, but it's the New York Yankees, right? Like if this was like the Tampa Bay Rays doing it, then yeah, I think like it would come with more scrutiny. But when you have one of the most storied organizations in all professional sports with probably one of the most tradition, I am not surprised, especially being baseball as well.
Yeah. And by the way, like the beard has been a trend for a while now. So it's like, hey, this is awesome. I can't wait to see what the Yankees look like when their opening day roll out there.
Yeah. But here's the real question. Is this all because they're trying to like get somebody else to come join their team that has a giant beard and this is what it's all about?
I don't think so. I don't know. I mean, they've already acquired quite a few players in this offseason. Obviously lost Soto. I think this was, at least according to Hal Steinbrenner, it's been an ongoing topic for years behind closed doors with obviously players and probably agents and free agency and also, from Judge now, who's a captain. I'm sure he's gotten feedback for probably decades on this, but something budged him enough to say, okay, we gotta do this. It would be interesting to see, and they'll find out in New York if there was something that did put it over the top, But it's not like it would have been awesome if like, hey, Soto says I'm staying in the Yankees, but I gotta have a beard, and that was the one that did it, right? Like that would be what a crazy part of a negotiation with the New York Yankees. That would be if there was a sought after player. And by the way, they get into some really, big negotiations against other teams like the Red Sox and Mets and Dodgers that they don't want to lose to, specifically the Red Sox and really the Mets, and maybe the Dodgers now too, that they don't want to lose out on a player. And so you could actually see it swing. Now, Soto's not a beard guy, but what about like if they were trying to get Bryce Harper, right? Could that, and the Mets are after him and the Red Sox are after him, obviously the Phillies, and you're like, that's the difference maker. All the money's the same. I want to be in New York. I want to wear the pinstripes, but I got to have this.
Sorry, Austin.
Oh, no. Hey, he's dead to me as far as I'm concerned, man. Like, go ahead and shave Devin Williams.
Especially a guy who
I don't
just
care.
went over there in this offseason. Like, he should be pissed.
Well, I guess
Yeah,
grow it back, man.
Yeah, but hey, Hamby, and obviously, Hamby, you're not aware of this. Beards grow pretty quickly if you have one.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's not worth having somebody have to take your picture like that, and you look like a.
Well, no. I mean, yeah, this is obviously some blackmail right here, and I feel sorry for him. But you're making a couple $1 million. I think you'll be all right, and I'd give him 4 to 5 months, and that beard will be back looking pristine.
Yeah, I bet as well.
Hopefully,
They can do it.
hopefully his pitching motion isn't looking pristine though, because I hope he just fails now. I could care less.
The reason I hate the Yankees. By the way,
Of course.
maybe the Yankees will finally win a World Series. They can have a playoff beard.
Oh boy.
There we go.
Hey, we always talk about the GM. Let's start there, and we've exhausted this one for one more day. But
Happy Gladstone Day.
it's Gladstone Day. Will we be glad by the end of the day? Or is he the guy? I mean, is he? I keep asking, is there significance to this? But I do think it was a little bit of a wrinkle. I thought most people thought it was Ethan Waugh going today in the final one. And then you're like, okay, well, that might not matter. I do think people, and now there's a lot of social media rumor that Gladstone has really shifted, right? I'll tell you what, there's social media odds, and then there are the Vegas odds. And social media odds have been Ian Cunningham, and now have kind of shifted a little bit, not to favor, but increase the odds of a James Gladstone. So could we get the youngin' in the front office?
Do we have the Vegas odds, Brent, or not?
I haven't seen odds. I don't know if they do odds on Jags GM, really.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still, I guess it comes the risk of, can you go too young? Can you go too young with a team that's already pretty young? And I think Albert Breer put this article out, I want to say it was last week. And he might as well have just copied the show, what we were talking about. And maybe he listened to our show, then got some ideas. We're kind of like his ghostwriters, if you will. He was talking about how you can't run the risk of going way too young everywhere, whether it's the front office and the coaching staff. Like, there has to be a little bit of a balance, and I kind of agree with that. And I would like to get a little more. I don't want to, because they're all like first GMs, right? They're first time GMs, so the experience thing is different, but the age could play a factor here, Brent. So to answer your question, I would rather go with the Cunningham direction, go a little bit older.
Yeah, Gladstone said to be 33 years old. I don't know who dug in and found that, because I couldn't find it when I was looking for it back a couple weeks ago, I remember. But there's a lot of intrigue with Gladstone just because he's such an unknown. By the way, Cunningham is like 39, 40 years old. So, I mean, we're not talking a big difference. But I forget if we were talking – I don't think we were talking about this on the show yesterday. I kind of wonder – If you like the 33-year-old, this goes through my head now because, I believe there can be toxicity and ego in buildings and around the NFL and these kind of jobs. And do you get the idea that potentially, and I'm not trying to paint this picture that this is what's happening, but at least it could go through your mind, that Cohen and Baselli want more of the power in the organization and want more of the say. And they feel like if they got the younger Gladstone, they would have it with the less of a resume, right? A little in his formative years, as once Shad Khan said. Like, could you make the case that we already think it's going to be Liam Cohen's building, coach-centric, but could this give even a Baselli a little bit more sway and say how this is going to work? We've been really discussing that. We don't know exactly how it's going to work in terms of the structure of power, but I just wonder that with the 33-year-old guy, the young guy, the guy that maybe this is a little bit early for him, do you wonder that? Or is he going to have the exact same say, exact same role, exact same power as if you did pick Cunningham or any of these other candidates?
I mean, I think whoever it is, they kind of have to learn on the fly, right? Because this isn't a Trent Baalke situation where you brought in a guy in Trent Baalke who had GM experience before, right? So he, whether people liked it or not, he had a little more of a resume than the guys getting interviewed right now. I think if you go with the 33-year-old, maybe the chain of command falls in line a little better, right? Because some could say, hey, he's just happy to be there. He's happy for the opportunity. But I think whoever they bring in, Brent, regardless of age, I think it's going to be put out in front of them like, hey, this is kind of Liam Cohen's thing. We need you to evaluate talent. We need you to get the players that Liam Cohen needs. And obviously Tony Baselli is going to fit in that role as well and have some kind of say of like, hey, this is what kind of Jaguars players we're looking for.
Well, do you like the idea, by the way, of James Gladstone? Like, do you like this? I get the 33-year-old, but it's cutting edge.
It's cutting edge, but also it's just, if you're Liam Cohen, it's all about people that or that come from the same circles that you can trust, right? Because it's all about that relationship. And this dude's coming from the Rams, correct?
Yeah,
exactly. So Cohen has some connections to the Rams. I think he trusts that organization. I think he trusts how Sean McVay and company, they do things over there. So he could be drawn to him just because he's very comfortable with the organization that he's coming from. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets the opportunity.
I can't see who was in the chat that mentioned Gladstone with Wah as assistant GM. Could that happen? Yeah, I mean, I could see it. Like I've said it a million times now. I think Wah's going to be a part of this thing.
Z Fortner.
Z Fortner said that. Thanks. Coach Ripley brings up what really a lot of people are looking at this as, and I think you kind of just referenced it too in the last couple of minutes, Austin. Rams person puts Liam at. Oh no, he didn't say. I misread this. I thought he was trying to say it's Rams East. He's saying puts Liam at ease because he knows him a little bit, right, and he's comfortable with him. I get that, but I actually have I think this is a Rams East kind of operation. The Jags are really trying to go that way, right? McVay tree with Cohen, then obviously the other folks that have been under that, or with LaFleur, with Green Bay, and you name it. And now would you bring somebody in from that organization from the front office too? I mean, you're really trying to, copy, and the Rams are the blueprint here of what you want your organization to look like. I don't think that's a bad thing, by the way. I just think you do have to be careful when you are trying to remake something on a different coast. When you're trying to duplicate, what's the spin here in Jacksonville? Is Tony Baselli the different spin? Like, how is it? You can't mimic exactly what the Rams do. You can't hope to recreate something that's been done. And if you want an example of that, go look at everybody who's tried the New England Patriot way for the last 2 decades. It usually doesn't work.
Well, in your opinion, like what is the Patriots way? I mean, trying to find Tom Brady? Like when you say people are trying to, mimic what the Patriots do, what does that actually look like?
Well, I think from their disciples of Belichick, first of all.
The coaches, I got you.
Yeah, okay. yeah. And I think overall, I mean, even this organization has really looked into that bucket and said, hey, how can we find some of the things that New England does? And I do think people looked at New England and said, hey, we know we're not going to get Brady, but can we do all these other things? The discipline, they don't beat themselves, right? The whatever else. But again, I think kind of like Reed and Mahomes, man, it's like Belichick, and maybe you give credit to their front office too, but Belichick and Brady, hard thing. You can't ask for that. That's a very hard thing to get. So, like, can you get what the Eagles have? I think that's a different story where it's Sirianni and Hurts, and then everything else around. Can you get what the Rams have? I think you can, because it's been Goff, Stafford, McVay, right? They've already shown a couple of renditions of this, and it's a lot of different players, but you can get to that level with those two figureheads. You can't get to Reed, Mahomes, Belichick, Brady at Walsh, Montana. Like, that's asking for too much.
No, I agree with you. Absolutely. Like it's almost impossible to replicate what the Patriots had. But I really wonder, and I get like Sean McVay is a focal point here, but if the Jaguars are truly trying to become the Rams East, I wonder what that's going to look like. Because when we talk about the Los Angeles Rams, you talk about really 2 philosophies that have taken place the past decade, right? It started off with the philosophy of saying, you know what? Instead of drafting everybody, we're going to trade away our draft picks. We're going to bring in seasoned veterans who already play at a very high level. We don't really have to develop anybody, and let's try to, make our roster top heavy with experience, with leadership, with talent, and try to win a Super Bowl. And lo and behold, they did. And, Matthew Stafford was at the forefront of that. And that was kind of the trend that was the outside the box thing that the Rams had done when other teams were trying to, stock up on draft capital. The Rams just said, why give us a couple years to develop talent and then have to re-sign that talent? Let's just get our guys right now and go win a Super Bowl. And they did. But now what we're seeing is, can you sustain that type of play? Like, I get it. You won a Super Bowl, so it worked. But now we're seeing the Rams pivot a little bit. And now we're seeing the Rams, maybe want to trade Matthew Stafford for some draft capital. Now we're seeing the Rams trying to trade an established pillar, I feel like, on their team. I get injuries and everything, but Cooper Kupp, they're trying to trade him as well. So now it's almost like you went from saying, we don't need draft capital, we need our experienced veterans, guys from around the league that maybe other teams let go, they don't want to pay, we'll pay them, and we'll take them on our team, and we'll win a Super Bowl. And now you're just going to go, you know what? We don't want to do that anymore. We don't want Matthew Stafford. We don't want Cooper Kupp. Now we want all this draft capital. So I think when we talk about, okay, we're trying to build ourselves after the Rams, well, what does that look like? Are we going to bring in a bunch of free agents? Are we going to sign T. Higgins? Are we going to give up some draft capital and say, hey, let's make ourselves top heavy with veteran leadership? Or are you going to be like kind of like the new school Rams and say, you know what, some of the pillars that we maybe have, maybe an Evan Ingram, maybe a Christian Kirk. Let's get some draft capital wherever we can for those guys, and let's start young again.
Well, I think it's all of that. honestly, when you say you can replicate. I think the versatility of their organization to do it multiple ways has been very impressive. And so when you can do that in different ways where you're not just, hey, we got to have the quarterback and coach or we can't win, right? We can't do that. Like, you obviously have to have that to some degree. Goff played pretty well to get into a Super Bowl. Stafford's a damn good quarterback, right? But they also did a bunch of other things, like McVay being so young. Like, they were on the forefront of that. I mean, he's 30 years old and he's a head coach. Like, what are you doing, right? This has a little bit of that. 33-year-old potential hot shot GM. Like, that's early. Snead's a young guy. They went super young in their organization, and then they were also versatile in their organization. And then Delphonic brings it up right now. They have been excellent in finding draft picks. It went all those times that Austin just said of saying we don't need them to now being able to really cash in and rebuild their roster with them and have a great vision for that. From Puka Nacua to really, if you look behind the scenes at what they said about the guys like Verse and Fisk out of Florida State, I thought it was fascinating to listen to Gladstone on one of those clips, I think it was Gladstone, that was floating around a few weeks ago, where he said, it's not just that Verse and Fisk are good, but they're really good together. So they'll be fine as individuals, but if we can get them both, they'll be really good. And he had that vision of that. That's an interesting play because usually you don't get that opportunity, right? To get two guys from the same school that have been impact players, and they got the opportunity. I mean, they must have been dancing in the room when they got that because it's so unlikely to be able to have that thought and vision and then be able to execute it the way the NFL draft works. And they did that. So, and then, Coach Rip says, hey, hit on 4th through 6th rounders. They've been able to do that, Austin. And if this guy does that, he'll make you happy. And I know that's what you think kind of helps make a good GM is in those middle to late rounds going to find some studs.
No, without a doubt, and I've said it way too many times on this show, but the first rounders should be a layup. And when you start talking about 3rd, 4th, 5th rounders, that should be the gems. That should be the guys that you can kind of build a team around. You can showcase and say, hey, I brought that guy here. Look at how talented he is. And it seems like the past decade here in Jacksonville, we haven't had a lot of those guys in later rounds.
Yeah, Trevor and Travis, Hambys Burner says, I don't think that was as purposeful. I think that was more coincidental. I don't think I heard Urban Meyer say, oh, yeah, we really wanted these two guys. Come on, we know what Urban Meyer wanted, right? He wanted Tony. I think it was the story. And then he got picked up by, I think the Giants got him, right, in that draft. So, listen, again, here's the whole deal, right? And this is what you got to be careful of. And I get it. There's background, there's trends. This is what we got to go on. This is what I really think. This is a different situation. The Jags are in a different situation. It's a different building. It's a different city. It's a different organization. We don't know what makes the Rams organization completely tick. They obviously have a lot of things that are working well together. The ingredients have worked very well. Some of those decision makers, well, at one time, Liam Cohen was a part of that, and obviously Gladstone has been a part of that and seen that. That doesn't mean it's automatic that he'll replicate that, and neither does it mean the same for Cohen. Just because they went from 32nd to 4th and running in Tampa doesn't mean they'll do it here in Jacksonville. Can he get this offensive line to play like that offensive line? Can he get these backs to play like Bucky Irving? Can he get Trevor Lawrence to play the way Baker Mayfield did this year? Does he necessarily have the receivers like Mike Evans? Well, maybe he does. But we don't know that it's going to exactly work that way. But I understand the trend, and you hope to dip into that pot a little bit and say, hey, even if you give us some of this, we think we have a good chance, right? So it's intriguing, man. I think Gladstone, I'm fine with any of the GMs. I know everybody wouldn't be fine with Ethan Waugh, and I get that, and I'd probably say similar. I don't think he's getting the gig. I really don't. I think he's going to be part of the front office. I've said it 100 times. But if any of these four guys, I'll be like, okay, cool, let's go. But the Gladstone one is really fascinating. It's fascinating to me because of the age. I mean, to be that young, and they continue to go young, and he might. The thing I like about the Gladstone one, maybe even a little bit more than Cunningham and everyone else, and this relates to all these candidates because they're in the same kind of age group anyway overall. There's not a huge disparity in age. But if you get a guy like Gladstone, Austin, and he is good, he can be good for 20 years. And then you get your consistency that you want here in Jacksonville. We don't even think that way in Jacksonville, right? I mean, Shaq Harris was here for a good amount of time. Dave Caldwell was here for a good amount of time. Tom Coughlin was here for a decent amount of time. Jack Del Rio was here for a decent amount of time. Since then, I mean, we really don't even talk about guys being here for more than 3, 4, 5 years. We can't even get there in our minds. Well, this is one where if it did go well, you could have Liam Cohen, James Gladstone, here for 20 years in Jacksonville. They can go on a crazy run like some of these teams do if it really worked out. Like you could dream big like that. And by the way, you got Trevor Lawrence at 25 years old. He could too. I mean, you could make that kind of run. And is that what Shad Khan's looking at? Is that what's like the light at the end of the tunnel, the pot of gold right at the end of the rainbow could be, hey, man, I don't have to do this again for another decade plus would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that's the best case, that you're talking about. And that could be a little bit of the vision. Obviously, the hindsight, obviously the other side of that coin is that there's a little inexperience. So can they handle all this, right? Like that's the biggest question, right? Like the Raiders get Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll, how long is he really going to coach for? We really don't know. He's kind of on the back nine of his coaching career, but you kind of know what you're getting with Pete Carroll. Like I would say this up and coming season, will the Raiders win a division? Well, probably not. But I think that they'll make vast, difference in terms of what you see on the field. I think they'll make vast improvements. And I think maybe in a couple years, they could be in contention for a division title. With Liam Cohen, yeah, you'd hope the offense gets better. You'd hope now with everything that's been put into place, the defense gets better and that you can compete for divisions for years and years to come. But it's just like we have to see it first, right? Because we have a lot of young guys right now at positions they never really had before. So, yeah, if it all goes according to plan, and these guys can figure it out, then yeah, you're going to have a regime, it seems like, in-house for, 10, 15 plus years.
Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty, again, it seems so like ridiculous to even stay around here. It really does. Like, it's hard for me to really say that without like a little bit of, okay, Brent, that seems like hyperbole. Like it really does because it just hasn't happened around here. But the reward of that could be, wow, like you could, if you got it right. If you do get it right, if this is the time you get it right, it could really be right for a long time, which I think is really cool. Hey, one last thought on this, at least for now. It is kind of nice that we know, like, there's going to be a GM in the next, 48, 72 hours, right? I mean, like, we know that. It's over this weekend. It's very few. You don't usually know that. Like, you don't know when the coaching move is going to happen. You can predict it. We did predict it. We think it might happen here or there. Like, we know. By Sunday night, man, there's a coach in place. Like, there's a presser here in Jacksonville, most likely on Monday. There's a C on the jet and heads off to Indianapolis Monday night and into the combine. Maybe it's Tuesday morning. Who knows? But that's kind of an interesting place to be after this long process that we actually know. I mean, 99% chance that the Jags will have a new GM by the end of the weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say it's about time, but with the combine coming up and everything, it's going to be a good phrase to echo.
Yeah, I just find that part fascinating because it's like it's here. And you don't usually put deadlines on hires, but there actually is like a deadline on this hire for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Shad Khan brought that up and kind of educated us a little bit at that news conference with Cohen, where he said February 28th. He threw that date out there. And I think it's actually might even be a little bit sooner than that because of the combine. Like there then goes a window where you cannot hire that GM until like after the draft. So like you got to have something in place pretty soon. And obviously a lot of it's logical. That makes sense. We'll see what happens now over the next few hours and obviously few days when it comes to that. It was a heck of a sports weekend. Not sports weekend. It might be a heck of a sports weekend. It was a heck of a sports day yesterday here locally. I love this stuff. And I know Canada, USA, we're talking a little bit about that. And while that's going on, the beauty of that is everybody's captured by that, and it's awesome to see for hockey and everything else. Really fun. But even locally, we had so much going on. We got all these teams going the state championship in basketball. Congrats to them. We'll talk about them. Also, girls soccer, boys soccer, Mandarin trying to stay undefeated, win a state championship. And then the River City Rumble last night, man, it was awesome. It was great. Great scene there. The energy was good. You know, I think they said the crowd was around 3,500. It felt like way more than that. I mean, that beautiful arena they've built. You know, we have Matthew Driscoll on the show a lot. I think he was so happy to win that game for so many reasons. And when I look at him and watch him in that, I think he was proud of his team, first of all. But they really answered the bell at certain stretches to win 77-73 and sweep the Dolphins. But I also think you got to look around and see what he's built over the last decade and a half at UNF. And part of it's that arena, and many people have had a say in that. But he has been a big player in all of that and what he's done with his basketball team. Now they go to 8-8. The Ospreys in league play, and a couple of games to go before real March Madness begins. You got to win a few games in March to go to the dance. The Ospreys have a chance. The JU Dolphins have a chance. A lot of teams have a chance in the A-Sun. We'll talk more about that and everything else happening around here in Jacksonville when we come back on the Brent Austin Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. It's one of the hot spots in the area.
Welcome you to String Sports Brewery out at the beach. Big crowd on hand tonight. The fans are here.
And now the newest hot spot at the beach is open. String Sports Brewery in Jax Beach has opened its doors with rave reviews.
We're going to be fans forever.
Cozy up to the bar. Grab a seat in the sports-themed restaurant, or grab a seat outside and feel that breeze coming off the beach as the weather warms. Just like the original location in Springfield, try the popular beer menu and come for lunch or dinner too, because the food is fantastic. He's got some exciting news heading into 2025 as well. Christian Kirk. It's where we hosted Jags Report Live in the football season, and the String Sports Brewery staff can't wait to host you. Hey, welcome back here to String Sports Brewery. And if you haven't checked out the new location in Jax Beach, which many of you have, you got to do it. String Sports Brewery, now with 2 locations in Springfield and now open in Jax Beach on Penman Road.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team. Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season!
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
Baker Sports is local sports. Uniforms from Pop Warner and Little League to travel ball, high school, and college. They make you look good. They help you play good. Baker Sports has been helping families make memories that will last a lifetime with their Baker's Buckets. We've got a lot of these filled with baseballs and softballs in the garage. I've been throwing batting practice to Ty and Kaylee for years, and also sit on the Baker's Bucket, catching Kaylee while she practices her pitching. Baker Sports is homegrown, and a lot of employees that used to play on local ball fields now work for Baker Sports, now helping you look good, play good, and make memories of your own. Visit Bakersport.com to see what Baker Sports can do for you. Custom apparel, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, embroidery, screen printing, and more. Baker Sports is local sports, from Jacksonville to anywhere in the Southeast. Bakersport.com.
The Tom Bush family of dealerships, they've been serving customers in the Jacksonville area for 55 years. They've been your go-to spot to get and stay on the road since 1970, and that's still the case here in 2025 and beyond, even if the cars have changed just a little bit. Check out the sleek line of vehicles of the future. That's right, electric vehicles. Tom Bush offers a full lineup of reliable electric cars with state-of-the-art service facilities. Like the new VinFast, Tom Bush is among the first dealers in the entire country to offer the VinFast, and let me tell you, this thing is sweet. The good folks at Tom Bush have all the info on charging, service, tax credits, and everything you need to keep your EV running smoothly. BMW, Mazda, Volkswagen, Mini, and the newly offered VinFast. There's something for everyone at the Tom Bush family of dealerships. Ready to join the Tom Bush family? Stop by the showroom or check out the inventory online at tombush.com.
Everyone loves a good game night. Here you don't have to be the host. You don't have to clean up. They bring the food and drinks to you, and you can watch whatever you want on the big screens. It's more than a card room. It's a night full of fun with friends. Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and now the newest location here in St. Augustine, right off 95 at exit 311. A brand new clean room, a full bar and menu, my favorite sushi in town. And I love the fries too. You don't have to just play poker at Best Bet. That's why I come over here to the table games and play one card poker. That's a pretty good card and a win. One card poker is like war as a kid, you against the dealer. And this isn't the only fun table game to play. A friendly staff, a lot of fun. It's a good night out at Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and the newest location in St. Augustine. You can be a serious player or a novice. It doesn't matter. If winning equals fun, you're a winner every time at Best Bet. I'll save you a seat, and I'll see you down here at Best Bet St. Augustine.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
There is a look at the network. Got a lot of replay today in case you missed it kind of stuff, but still original programming now. Miller and Moulton got us going this morning. Brent and Austin Show right now. You're in the middle of that, and you can check it all out at actionsportsjax.com. By the way, we've really been touting actionsportsjax.com, which I like to do, and Daniel Griffiths has been writing and contributing, and so you can see the articles. We're reshaping that site, and our folks have done a nice job as we move this thing along, just trying to clean some things up and make it easier for you, the listener and the viewer. And so some of that's already transpired, and look for more to come up. And reader as well. Again, if you go check out like Daniel's articles, which we'll get into one today on fourth downs, then you can also just watch the show while you're reading. Up there in the top left, it plays automatically. We like that, so we encourage you to go to actionsportsjax.com. But we also want to let you know, obviously, you can see this show on social media and a lot of the other shows that we do. Not all of them now, but you can also watch the network like simply from home if on your smart TV. Action News Jax Now, you can download that app and you can see it on Roku and Apple TV and you name it, all the different places. So it's pretty cool. It's at your fingertips wherever you need it, and you can continue to watch it. And also on the Action News Jax Now app to begin with. We're right there as well. You just got to find it a little bit more on the app. Brent Martineau along with Austen Lane out in Las Vegas is, oh man, hey, you're one Friday away from getting in the cage out there in Vegas, closing in, getting excited.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's kind of the calm before the storm, so no sense in like overexerting energy or anxiousness. So when I get to like probably Wednesday or Thursday, I'll get a little more ramped up and everything get locked in. But right now, it's kind of business as usual.
Yeah, and you, it's like 7:30 out there, which means you start our show around 7 o'clock your time. How are the neighbors? Yep. Have they come out and said, "Who the hell is this guy in the backyard, and what is he doing?"
No, it's all good, man. I think we got a little space out here to kind of work with, so there's a little space between our neighbors. I think we're okay, and it helps too because the sun comes up pretty early, obviously being on that West Coast. So, yeah, it's beautiful out here right now, man. I mean, it's a little breezy, but obviously I have a hoodie, and it's the same hoodie you've seen all week because, well, I only packed one hoodie. But yeah, but it's working great so far.
Yeah, by the way, it looks like you're kind of on a green screen in a sense because the backdrop has looked the same every day. It's like it's got the sun shining a little bit. You got that blue sky that hasn't changed. Doesn't rain out there, I guess.
Doesn't change at all, yeah.
And yeah, you're in a pretty similar spot, so it almost looks like a little bit of a green screen out there. Hey, Canada, Team USA, man, Canada won. I guess that's the bad part, right? I mean, that was disappointing. I've got to be honest with you. I was obviously doing the UNFJU game, and so I didn't see a lot of it, but I was peeking in on the score every now and again. And then when I got back to the station in between shows, I got to see the overtime. And I said to Burish, because we were kind of watching right as in commercial break before sports at about 11:20. And I was like, they were peppering them. And I was like, this is going to be one of these games where they're dominating overtime and there's going to be a little leak in the action and boom, the other Canada's going to score. And I was middle of my sportscast, and it's exactly what happened. I mean, that's just the way it goes sometimes in hockey, right? Like you can dominate the play, goalie stands on his head, and then back down a good setup piece, and obviously McDavid finished the job.
Yeah, man. First of all, a fantastic game. Had a little bit of everything, and if you follow hockey at all, and Jordan Binnington, This is his MO, and he was the goalkeeper for Canada. The dude will give up some easy goals, but then all of a sudden, when it's like crunch time, when you need to have the saves, he's going to give you the saves. And he was almost like in that overtime period, like you really see a goalie who looks like he's just unstoppable. No matter what you throw at him, he's just going to stop it. Like I remember back in the day, like Dominic Hasek, Patrick Waugh, were some of these guys. You saw that last night from him in overtime, and it was an exciting overtime. It was very high paced. Foot on the metal the entire time from both Team USA and Canada, but obviously Canada gets the goal at the end to win it. And it's obviously it sucks, right? Because you want to see Team USA finally hoist something on a world level that was first place and everything. But I just wonder, like, and we'll see what like the ratings are and everything. But I wonder if Team USA would have won that game. What the jubilation would have been like, but then also like what like the reverb would have been like from hockey fans, right? Because yeah, it was still an exciting game and everything. And like, let's be honest, Canada doesn't need any more hockey fans. Like they watch hockey religiously there. I think when we talk about growing the sport of hockey, you have to do it in the States. And I just wonder if it was, I don't want to say a wasted opportunity, but if it was a missed opportunity to even grow the game more, if you would have won that game, an exciting overtime thriller.
That's interesting. Hamby, that's a good thought. You're not a hockey guy. You grew up down here, which makes some sense.
Watched the whole game.
Did you?
Yeah.
Nice, Hamby. Good for you,
I missed
man.
the first 20 minutes, kind of rewound that part, but watched the rest of it.
Did you feel it? Did you like it? Did you enjoy it?
When the 22-year-old kid scored to make it 2-1, I think I fist pumped once or twice. I was kind of fired up. But it was interesting for me watching. I think that's the first more than 5 minutes I've watched in quite literally maybe a year or two. I've maybe watched 5 hockey games in my entire life. And I hear Austin talk about Connor McDavid all the time, that he's the best player. And watching that game, I was like, McDonough kept kind of the play-by-play guy, who I love him calling hockey. I've just seen like clips of him, and he's awesome. But I kept hearing him point out that McDavid kind of would just like miss a pass, or he would try to make a move and lose the puck. And I'm thinking to myself, this is their hockey's best player.
Yeah.
Like he kind of looks like a scrub, like he's kind of holding the team back. And then I saw what's his name, maybe Eichel, lose his stick. Yep. So for me, I was like, whoa, what's he like? Are they gonna like chuck a new one to him? Like,
see, this is novice hockey. This is good.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, that's not happening. And then I just see him just like stick his foot out and intercept a pass and kind of just kick it for a clearance. I still don't know what icing means, but that's okay. It really didn't inhibit my experience. I had a great time watching, but it was kind of full circle for me to be like, man, this McDavid guy, like this is the best y'all got. Because there was like 4 different times where he would just try to make a move and lose the puck, or like the puck would go over his stick. And then obviously he's in a perfect spot to hit the game-winning shot. I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, well and that might have been not the hardest shot of all time, but it's like, yeah, it makes sense.
Well, and he was the player of the game to the game, but he even said after the game, like, I didn't play that well. But
they had to give it to him.
Yeah, but I forgot if it was, and I agree with him, but he didn't play his best game, but I forgot if it was an overtime to start the game, if it was like the last couple minutes of the third period when he had the puck behind his own net and he started like to, set up the formation and everything. And he literally just like, because he's so quick, and he just weaved through everybody and had a shot on goal, but missed it. I forgot that was the third period of overtime.
Yeah, I remember that.
But I'm just like, oh, yeah, don't give him that much space, right? Because he shows what he can do when he gets the open ice and everything. But once again, it was a great game. I'm surprised we didn't really see a lot of fights. And I don't know if ESPN did this like on purpose or if they just stopped booing. But when they had the Canada national anthem in the beginning, when the lady started singing it, like the crowd was letting her have it.
Oh,
but then all of a sudden,
they did boo? I didn't see. I missed that.
Oh, yeah. So like in the first like 10 seconds when she started, they started booing her, and you could kind of see a little reaction, like she smiled a little bit. But then all of a sudden, like the boos cut out. So I don't know if like the broadcast
they hit the mute on the net mic.
Yeah, I have no idea. But it's funny too, because the announcer that was announcing like the starting lineups and everything, before they got to the anthems, he's like, and can we please respect both national anthems? And,
he did say it.
Oh, yeah.
And I heard the end one when the championship, but there weren't as many people in the arena by then, in Boston. So they didn't boo it there, or I couldn't hear it there. But it was mostly Canadian folks now staying around, obviously, after the win. It was like $2,000, I think, the cheapest ticket to get into that game, by the way.
Yeah.
And just a great atmosphere. Again, the emotion by both teams to win. You had to remind yourself, this was an all-star break festivity. That's unbelievable that you had to remind yourself of that. You had guys wanting to play hurt. You had Sidney Crosby that had missed a couple of games in the regular season with Pittsburgh before this, but made it back to come play in this game. Yeah. You did say about that. I know exactly what you're talking about with that McDavid play, because the one thing, again, I don't watch a lot. I'm be honest, I don't watch a lot. I have in my life. I've watched a decent amount of hockey, but I don't watch it night in, night out, and especially him and them. But he's so damn fast. I mean, it's amazing. It jumps out like they're just it's like watching Tyreek Hill on a football field. Everybody's fast on a football field. They're great athletes, but Tyreek Hill, it just looks different, right? And with Brian Thomas Jr., we got a little bit of that here in Jacksonville. McDavid looks different,
And listen, and like, I don't want to give a lot of NFL comparisons to NHL comparisons, but like, his speed reminds me of Brian Thomas Jr. Like, there's some guys in the NHL, like I remember like when I was a kid, Pavel Bure, they call him the Russian Rocket. Yeah. He was like one of the fastest guys in the NHL, but like you could see it because he's like a sprinter, like his legs are just constantly going. With Connor McDavid, it's like Brian Thomas Jr., where it's so unassuming, where there's such like long strides and it looks effortless, but then all of a sudden, he's halfway down the ice and don't keep up with them, just like Brian Thomas Jr., where he gets a little 2-yard bubble screen and turns it into like 50 yards.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about NFL, NHL comparison. Well, one, like you said, we had guys playing through injury, and we thought Matthew Tkachuk might come back in the game, and I don't know what he was doing with it. And then
it was a groin, I guess.
Yeah. NFL-wise, for All-Star festivities, we got guys jumping into a foam ball pit. So that's there's your
NBA All-Star game.
A little different.
Braun says, I'm all set. Appreciate you.
Here's the deal. You said something that's pretty interesting to me, Austin. You said, did they miss their opportunity to grow it even more? And before I forget this train of thought, I thought it was really cool, the self-awareness of the sport the last week of hockey. Like, you're proud of your game. You love your game. But you realize, like, the other games and sports are bigger now. Like, it hasn't grown to the point where you want it to grow. There's more out there, and you're willing to admit it. Like, a lot of people defend and defend and defend. Like, I really do feel like soccer fans are like this, and I'm not trying to knock soccer fans, but soccer fans are almost to the point at times, it feels like, you get this sense, because I'm not a soccer guy, but like, that, hey, we've been watching this sport for 25 years and we're the true hard fans. Don't get off our bandwagon, right? There's a little bit of that. And by the way, all fandoms like that. I mean, Jags fans have the same way. You're like, you're not a true fan. You haven't been around here since so and so and so and so, and you don't do this and that. And no, I'm a big believer in bandwagon fans, man. That's how fan bases grow, right? You need bandwagon fans to jump on board. You want that. You want young kids on board. You want families on board. You want those fans. But I just thought it was very refreshing, and this really, I think, explains hockey. Hockey guys are the best. I mean, they really are. They're some of the best in sports to cover that are just good dudes are hockey guys. And I thought it was really cool to not be so defensive about where they are in the Big Four landscape or our sports landscape, and to say, even the Canadians and even McDavid after, to be like, listen, this was great for our sport. This was great. Hopefully we win some fans over. He acknowledged it.
McDonough did on multiple occasions. He was like, hey, we got a lot of first-time viewers. Like, welcome in. We love this.
Yeah.
We love it.
They did this. I mean, listen, man, hockey has been a great sport for a long time. They are right. Like, if you love that sport and you watch it night in, night out, you're like, what you guys been missing? Now you're going to come to the party? Yes, come to the party. And the NHL folks and everybody did that. They acknowledged it. I thought it was a really cool thing that they did that. They embraced the opportunity. They knew the numbers of last weekend. They knew they were going to have big numbers on this night. So well done by them. I also would say this has another soccer feel to me. We think there's a huge opportunity for the sport of soccer to grow exponentially in the United States in the next couple of years at the World Cup. And that's why there's so much focus on the United States team being good, at least making it into the qualifying round, everything else, right? The bracket round. And I probably said that wrong, see? But I think you're probably right. Like, there might be more of a reverberation if the United States had won. But I also think it might be part of the process, Austin. to now build the drama a little bit more the next time they play Canada. You know what I mean? We did have a lot of current events going on that made this the perfect opportunity to bring eyeballs to the sport. But they're still the giant. And even if the United States had beaten Canada in this arena, Canada is still the hockey giant on the international scene. Like, it doesn't mean the United States had overtaken them. It did for this moment, but hadn't overtaken them. So what I think now, it builds it for the next time. The Olympics coming up, right? The next time they play this over the next few years. Because it does look like there's a lot of even talent on both sides going forward for the next few years. And so I think it sets the table for some of that. We might be looking for the same thing in soccer coming up in the World Cup. Are they ready to win the World Cup? They ain't going to be ready to win the World Cup, folks. I mean, I can't imagine the United States is going to be ready to play on that stage against some of the best in the world. We're just hoping they get in, right, and win a couple. Like, that's where we're at. This stuff doesn't happen overnight is my point, right? It's part of the process, and then by another 4 years down the road, maybe they're in the championship game or the Final Four, and then the next time, we're a decade away still, but then they win it, right? That's part of the process of maybe even beefing up that fandom a little bit more, Austin, right? And kind of adding to it for years down the road, especially with the Olympics on the horizon soon. And now this format looks like it's going to stick.
No, I mean, without a doubt, like, listen, if this is the world of professional wrestling, this is how you book it, right? Like, you book it where USA gets beat, and then all of a sudden they got, and then they have another year to regroup and everything, and then they come back for vengeance. And that could very well happen. If that's the case and USA wins the 4 Nations next year, then yeah, watch out. Like, then I feel like it's going to be hotter than ever. But, they might add some more teams. Russia could obviously have a team. I think the Czech Republic now could have a team as well. So they could add some more teams to this whole nation thing, which I think would be great. I think the more games, the more players, the more the merrier. But I'm not naive to the fact of, in whatever country, but especially I feel like in this country, like we cheer for the front runner, right? Like we celebrate the champion. And I think it's why, even when people will tune in to watch the Olympics basketball or whatever, like, yeah, we probably know what's going to happen because the USA is so talented. Like, they're probably going to win a gold medal. And yeah, I get it was a little closer than expected this last Olympics run, but you're still going to tune in and watch it because you want to see your country get a gold medal. And that's in any sport, right? Like, we have this infatuation with figure skating and gymnastics. Does anybody watch gymnastics or figure skating? Well, does the casual watch gymnastics and figure skating year round? Probably not. But when it's on the biggest stage against other countries, then yeah, you take part in it. And that's what I just thought the opportunity was last night, Brent, where essentially, you had a lot of the world watching this game. And like, if you were able to pull out that win, especially in a miraculous overtime, I just felt like that could have amplified things so much where it's like, man, there's something to this hockey sport, from the casuals. I got to watch more of it. I think it did bring some new eyes. I think it's going to, help ratings overall, especially when the playoffs start. But I just think if you would have won that game last night, the people in this country would have been so excited, like they would have wanted more.
Yeah, it wouldn't have hurt it. I'm not saying it would have hurt it, but it does help to build the drama. I think you made a great comp right there, the wrestling script, right? A little bit like how do you build the script? And sometimes like you got to lose to build it. But man, it was great. It was really good stuff. It's cool. I like that a lot. I don't know. I'm going to find out, man. Like, you watch hockey more than any of us. I'm going to find out if I'm now more into it. If I'm going to get into it a little bit more. I do think we're going to it'll be interesting to see the feedback and how teams treat this. I would think it was an exhausting week and a half for Team USA and Canada specifically, playing last night and all the drama and emotion to it, what transpired over the last week. They're like back in it on Saturday. Like, regular season starts on Saturday. That is not that's tomorrow. That's not a huge break. And I understand they play all the time, but I think I heard McDonough say Connor McDavid and Edmonton, they go on the road for like 5 straight or something. Like, I think do they need a little bit more of a break? Will the teams rest them, a little load management coming out of this? Or do you capture it right away because you got momentum? That's an interesting part of this play, right? Because you want to see Kachuk, you want to see McDavid, you want to see these Matthews, you want to see these guys now because they've got some momentum and there's got some name recognition. And by the way, we're a little bit before March Madness. We don't have a ton going on in the NFL. This is a good weekend to check out some more hockey if you're a sports fan.
No, without a doubt. And like, listen, I don't think they're going to be, having that load management or anything like that. I think, like, whether it's Dylan Larkin, whether it's Connor McDavid, like they're all going to they're going to throw him out there right away, man, because that's what hockey players do. You don't really get a lot of rest and recovery. I mean, it's just you go. And I think, like, listen, if you're still kind of on the fence about hockey and everything, well, look no further, because the NHL isn't done yet. They're going to showcase their stadium series in Columbus, Ohio, and it's going to be the Blue Jackets taking on the Wings. And people are wondering, like, well, what's up with that? Well, think about it. You talk about Michigan, Ohio State, one of the biggest rivalries in all of sports. Well, they're going to be playing at the Horseshoe. They're going to be playing at Ohio State. I forgot what the stadium's called, but they're playing at Ohio State University. And that's probably going to be a sellout, because they played before at the Big House in Michigan, in Ann Arbor, and they sold that game out. There was an empty seat in that stadium. So now that's going to be like the next big showcase that the NHL is going to put on. It's going to be the Columbus Blue Jackets taking on the Detroit Red Wings, and it's going to be the Battle of Ohio versus Michigan. So once again, I think is it going to be as big as the 4Nations? Absolutely not. But I think that's going to be a little intriguing, right? Like seeing a whole entire stadium filled up, Ohio versus Michigan, like sign me up for that.
Yeah, no doubt. It'll be good. It'll be interesting to see. I like what Logan says. I was hooked for the 4Nations, taking a peek this weekend for sure. And can they keep that momentum? Good for them. Again, we've talked a lot about it. We've talked more hockey in the last week than we've talked in 6 years of doing this show, right? And so I think that's good stuff, and that's great. And by the way, yeah, Coach Rip, you're right. College hockey is very fun. It's much like, listen, man. Hockey to me is a lot like baseball to like for Austin or for whoever's watching hockey all the time. Hamby watches baseball all the time, but not everybody's on board around here. We don't come in here and talk a half hour about baseball, even though like we love baseball. And by the way, I love college baseball. College baseball is ballooned, and the crowds are amazing. And was that a real story, by the way, where Major League Baseball and ESPN are splitting up? Right? Did you see that? This is going to be the last year of their contract. And somebody said Sunday Night Baseball with college baseball. Now, I don't know if they were suggesting it or if that's really in the works at a much cheaper buy. Could college baseball get that? Could some of the conferences get that?
That'd be nice.
Like, it'd be nice and maybe a boon for money, right? And a much cheaper spend for ESPN. I don't know if it was just an idea or something I saw, but it's pretty interesting. I don't know where Major League Baseball is going next, because they've had the regional sports networks have been very difficult for them, and now ESPN and them are splitting up. So, I mean, they're just going to be on MLB TV. How's that working? I don't know, but I haven't really had a chance to deep dive into it. But pretty interesting that no more Sunday Night Baseball after this season for Major League Baseball and ESPN. Let's take a time out. Brent Austen Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. It's a Friday around here, and when we come back, we're talking some football. Daniel Griffiths gives us our latest topic, obviously, as we await the GM search of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Patrick Young scheduled to join us a little bit later on in the show now. And, hey, we're going to the PBR. We're going bull riding at noon today. I know you want to be in studio for that one, Austen Lane, but we got a guest.
I'm a little jealous I'm missing out.
Yeah, these are always fun guests now to get the background of a bull rider coming up a little bit later on the show, on the Brent and Austen Show. Congrats to all the teams that made it to the Final Four. We've got a lot of local flavor now on a chance to win a state championship. Jahari Simmons and the Jackson Tigers. We were introduced to them back at the Fortegra Invitational, and these guys are good. And they proved it last night with another win to get to the Final Four. Now 2 wins away from a state championship for the Tigers.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimates, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
Just be yourself. Maybe we're talking about being a dad or a mom, a first responder or a teacher. Maybe it's a sports fan. We love those. We're talking about anyone in the Jacksonville community. At Community First Credit Union, just be yourself means being real. When you partner with Community First, it's straightforward. They're people connecting with you, so you can be yourself. I've been coming here to Community First for years. This is the Bartram branch, the one I usually come to, and they have mortgage loans, personal loans, and auto loans, and I'm almost done paying off that truck loan. Just a few more months. Good rates, easy online banking, and friendly customer service when I have a question. It's easy to be myself with Community First. They live up to the slogan in their name. Community First has partnerships in the Jacksonville community with the Iceman, the Florida Theater, the Jacksonville Zoo, and many more. Visit one of the Jacksonville branches or find out all you can do with Community First Credit Union at communityfirstfl.org so you can just be yourself.
For the game day hustle and every day in between, juggling my show Jags Social to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242. You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing. Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, you can take 10% off any water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
Hey, look at these guys out at the game yesterday. I thought this was cool. Foye Oluwakin, Josh Hines-Allen, and the last game at Swisher Gymnasium, Jarian Jones was out there, and I feel like somebody else, I can't remember. But Josh, he's obviously throwing T-shirts out in the crowd. He took the mic and did a Duval in front of the crowd. And then, you figure some of these guys come for a couple quarters, maybe, get out of there 5 minutes to go in the game or something like that, a little bit early, come for a bit, but not the whole thing. No, they were there the whole time. And then after the game, they stayed for like another half hour. They were shooting hoops. They were playing against some of the kids there, taking pictures with everybody. So good on those guys. That was cool to see them. And good to see Josh Hines-Allen as well. Remember, he missed that last game of the year for personal reasons, and he still really hasn't shared that story. And, we've heard some things, but obviously it's not our place to show or tell. We'll see what he wants to do with any of the things that were happening and why he missed that game at some point. Obviously, I don't think we'll hear from Josh until sometime in April is my guess, when the Jags get back to work. And who knows if even at that point he'll be willing to share whatever was going on, in his world at that time. But we'll see. But the good news is he looks good. And now what kind of season can him and Trayvon Walker have here in 2025 under this new regime? I talked to him for a couple of minutes yesterday, but didn't really go into all that about Anthony Campanile and this new coaching staff. And you do always wonder that, right? Austen Lane, I mean, how does Campanile get the most out of these two guys? We've been sitting here talking about how do you get the interior better? Eric Armstead, how do you play him on the inside? Are you going to finally do that? Where are your holes? Cornerback, can we get some good linebacker play outside of guys outside of Foye Oluokun? Where's the depth behind Josh and Trayvon? But we do also say, can this coaching staff, and I would say less coaching staff because I feel like he's already a very good player and you can always get coached. But to me, it's more scheme and fit and how you set things up to make these guys eat, right? Can you accentuate these guys? We talk about it with Brian Thomas Jr., get him the ball. Well, can you get Josh Hines-Allen in a situation where he can go have another double-digit sack, 15-sack kind of year? Same goes for Trayvon Walker. And we don't know what that looks like yet, but that's obviously got to be on the drawing board for Anthony Campanile.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's two things with, Coach Campanile here. One, it's obviously the scheme, right? And we say this every single time I feel like a new coordinator gets hired. You got to set your players up for success and all this stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to. And it's cliche, but it's the truth, right? You have to look at what Josh Hines-Allen does well. You have to look at what Trayvon Walker does well and utilize that, right? And it's the entire defense in general, right? Because we've talked about in the past, like in terms of interior pass rush, in terms of interior pressure, it's been lacking the past couple of years. So do you address that in the draft? Well, a lot of people say, yes, you do. But even if you do that, what kind of scheme are you going to have your interior guys play where they can help out Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker? Because that's the one key thing that's missing. Well, there's a couple things missing, obviously, in this defense, but to me, that's the biggest component is having that interior pressure, but it's having that in just interior, status, right? Where if a team's watching you, oh man, running the football is going to be hard today. Oh man, we have to take into account for this 3 technique, this nose tack, whatever the case may be. So that's the one side. The other side, and this is really kind of finding that balance as a coordinator, as a coach, it's pushing your players, but understanding who those players are, right? Like I could look at Josh Hines-Allen, I could look at Trayvon Walker and say, they probably don't need a lot of motivation because I feel like they're kind of cut from the same cloth where they're trying to be great players regardless, right? Like there's some players that will need like the external motivation, right? You kind of got to hold their hand through the entire process and you got to make sure they're staying up to date. Like Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, they don't need that. They're a pro's pro, if you will. But everybody every once in a while needs to be held accountable, right? Because no one's perfect. So it's trying to find that balance of maybe when they have a misstep, maybe when they make a mistake, you got to hold them accountable, but not to the point where it's like you're embarrassing one of your best players in your team, if that makes any sense at all. And like that's what Joe Cullen did so well. Like everyone saw Joe Cullen from the outside of when I played, and it was like, wow, this guy chews out everybody. That wasn't the truth. Like he was very hard on first and second year guys because like we still had a lot to learn. But when you had guys like Aaron Campman and Jeremy Mincy, like he wasn't really chewing them out at all. He was maybe kind of more like hold them to a higher standard. And you kind of have to earn that type of respect. So I think it's finding that balance between pushing your players, holding them accountable, but not going overboard where they kind of feel disrespected.
You have to be a good button pusher at the least. You're a psychologist as a coach as well. And what can you do to get the best out of all these guys? Like you said, different traits, different skill levels, different resumes as well. So it was good to see Josh Hines-Allen out there, part of the great atmosphere at UNF Arena with more than 3,500. Just terrific look. The energy was fantastic. The students bring it with over 1,000 students there. Good to see my friends from Nimnicht Buick GMC out there as well. Saw Billy Nimnicht in the crowd and others. And so that was good to see. And you can see them too this weekend. If you're looking for a new vehicle, just head on over to Nimnicht Buick GMC, nimnichtbuickgmc.com, or Phillips Highway GMC. We are professional grade. More on Josh, by the way. I think naturally you would say, and let's just separate Josh from Trayvon here. I think we talk about him in such a tandem. But you could say that just naturally the interior of this defensive line, if it gets better, they will perform better. Josh will perform better. Okay, I think there's another thing. Much like I say about why I feel the Jags will be much better this year is because of Murphy's Law in a sense, where you only had 9 turnovers. You lost 10 one-score games. All right, well, let's just say you get more than 9 turnovers. I'm not sure that helps Josh. But if you win more of those games, or you're not trailing in the fourth quarter, and you have the lead at times, well, then those guys eat a bit more naturally. That's what happens around the league. So if you get a little bit better in the interior, and Armstead and Mason Smith and Mason Graham potentially help you out, and Devon Hamilton plays better, well, and you have a lead because your offense is a little bit better, well, you're going to get more sacks. You're going to have more opportunities. The other team is going to try to force the issue, play catch-up. Trayvon Walker, I think, would have had 2 or 3 more sacks. I think Josh would have already had the franchise record if they could have played out in front a little bit more this year. Because deep down, I really think Josh had another nice season, Austin. I think he's put together 3 really nice seasons, like really, really good seasons. I think the tape shows that. Take away the numbers, and the tape would show that this guy has played at an elite or real high to an elite level for 3 straight years. There's consistency there for Josh Hines-Allen. The numbers don't look as consistent, right? From 8 sacks to 17 and a half to 8 sacks, something like that. But I do think the play looks consistent. I think the disruption, sometimes the dominance, the run game stuff, how he's impacting each and every play, I think that has actually led to some consistent play, even though the numbers might not look that way from a sack-only standpoint.
No, for sure, because it's a lot of things that you don't see on the, I mean, we judge a lot of defensive linemen by sacks, by quarterback sacks. Like that's the end all be all. That's what gets you paid. That's what gets you all pros. That's what gets you Pro Bowl nods. It's how many quarterback sacks do you have? But a lot more goes into it. Obviously, it's the hurries. It's being stout in the run game, and this to me is why Myles Garrett is arguably one of the best edge rushers in the entire NFL, if not the best, because he gets the quarterback sacks, but it's the stuff that he does when the ball's not coming to him. It's the stuff that he does in the run game that people sometimes fail to notice. So there's a lot more that goes into it than just getting after the quarterback. And you mentioned Mason Graham, and I just thought of this too. I mean, if you have Mason Smith and Mason Graham, whoever the next Jaguars GM is, you better draft one more Mason, because I want to have a group of 3 Masons, and we can call them the 3 Masons, like the Freemason, call them the 3 Masons, man. Like that's marketability, that's swag, the 3 Masons. So I'm not sure there's more Masons out there. I know there's a Mason Crosby, but we don't really need a kicker right now. But we got to get 2 more Masons on the team, Brent, to make them the 3 Masons.
He would have to come out of retirement. I think he just retired, by the way. Mason Crosby did. Hey, we asked this last year. We were curious about it. Will the weight that these guys are putting on impact their play? And we even said, hey, if these things doesn't go well and the numbers aren't there, we're going to say the weight was a problem. I mean, Josh, he looks good, but he's definitely bigger now. I mean, there's no doubt. You could see that last year, and he's still got it. I mean, did he play okay with the weight? I don't think the weight impacted him. I think the weight was good weight. I don't think I saw a slower Josh. I don't actually equate the numbers of the sacks to the weight. I thought we might at the outset of the year when we were having these conversations, but I really don't think guys like him and Trayvon, who put on a little bit more, were impacted by it. Did you see the same thing, or am I wrong?
I mean, no, I didn't really see a guy that was impacted by it per se. I mean, obviously you go from 17 and a half and then, a little bit of a down year in terms of the total number. but I don't think it had a lot to do with weight. Because what year was it? Was it his second year when he was like he had a low quarterback sack total, but like he had so many hurries and pressures where it's like, man, he's just like a split second away. Was that?
I think that that was. Shoot, I get it mixed up. So this was his 5th year right here, this past year, right? I think it was his 3rd year.
Third year? Okay.
Third year.
Well, that one season where it was like, man, he was like a split second away from having like 15 sacks, it seemed like. Well,
and that regime, by the way, wondered if he could get there, wondered if he could do it. That's why they didn't pay him early. They wondered, but it was trending in a very good way, to your point.
Yeah, and what I'm trying to say is like, okay, well then should he have dropped 10 pounds, 15 pounds, because then maybe would he have got there a little faster? Like that's so unfair to say. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it was the weight that caused his play last year. I think if the weight was truly the issue, he probably would have lost him by now. Then, right? You'd probably see him a little leaner because only NFL players know their bodies, right? So like if he felt slow, if he felt sluggish, he would have made a change. And I think, seeing the videos of him last night, shooting the basketball and everything, he doesn't look like he lost a lot of weight. So he must be fine carrying that weight. And yet remember, like everyone's different, man. Like you say, he added 15 pounds and some guys can't pull that off. Like
no, they can't.
This is a guy speaking from experience who, when I was cut from Jacksonville and was signed on waivers because they had the first dib on me by the Kansas City Chiefs. And I had to go from playing at 260 to 285. Like, yeah, putting that much weight on in a minimal amount of time, like I was fine. Like I still made it work, but no, I didn't feel my best. I didn't feel the most athletic. So everyone's going to carry weight differently. Is it muscle? Is it fat? All those things got to go into play as well.
I actually think, and I don't know what the number would be, but let's just say if you go plus or minus 10 pounds, I don't think it usually works out well. I really don't. I just, in my time covering the Jags, and that's what I know. I don't really look at other teams now. You can do a lot of things around the Jags that haven't really worked out well, so you can kind of play that game. But I do think when we've seen that, it's like not a great response. It's not like, oh yeah, keeping this one. Might even add a couple more. Like you don't usually get that. That I feel like, and I don't have a true number on that or percentage. Just doesn't feel that way. So there was a lot of curiosity about this topic based on that alone, and especially because Ryan Nielsen, almost everything he did last year didn't work. So he's the guy that prompted this, and so you wonder if the next guy will feel the same way. And I don't know. I mean, they just got guys in the building, Austin. So maybe when he gets there in April, it'll be a big part of the summer plan to say, hey, maybe get a little leaner, maybe lose 7 of those pounds. I have no idea. Might be add 3 more. Who knows? But I think Delphonic brings up a good point. I think the point we're getting at is I don't think it impacted Trayvon and Josh. I really don't. We wondered if it would have. I don't think it did. But did it impact a player like Andre Sisco? And I think it did. Did it impact a guy like Devin Lloyd? Did it work for Devin Lloyd? Did he actually play better than other years? Or did it not? Like, I don't know how they look at it. But we'll see, because you'll see people start changing again if it didn't work the right way.
So here's what I think coaches need to do. Unless it's a scheme fit, for instance, and this, I'm not saying this is going to happen because it's not going to happen, but just to take this as an example. Say like the Jaguars decided to go to a 3-4 and they wanted to move Josh Hines-Allen down to a 3 technique. Well, then, Josh Hines-Allen, you got to put some weight on because you can't be, on the leaner side trying to play a 3 technique. It would never work. So like there's sometimes out of necessity where you got to change your body comp just to try to fit that mold of what the scheme's going to be. But I think if coaches trust their players and let their players do what's best for them, it'll all work out, right? And like some players can add muscle and add weight, and it's better. Some players feel sluggish. It's like everybody's body type's different. But like I look at a case like Lamar Jackson. Lost a lot of weight this last season, much to the chagrin of a lot of people in the media in Baltimore and everything, saying, I can't believe he's going to drop this much weight. He's going to get hurt. He's, all this stuff. Well, did he get hurt? Did he play the full season? He did, didn't he? I don't think he got hurt. Or if he got hurt, it was like minimal. I think he played the whole season. So when you talk about that, it's like you got to let players be players and do what's best for themselves, because everyone was saying how, man, Lamar Jackson losing all that weight, it's not going to be a good thing. Well, maybe it was, because he had some of the best numbers of his career. He seemed like he was more, he was more agile. I think he felt more confident. And obviously, as a pocket passer, he was better as well. So I think you have to let players be players, unless it's a scheme thing. You got to interject. But if it's not a scheme thing, then yeah, let them do what they want to do because they know their body's best.
Yeah, I mean, listen, feel good is a big part of this. Ryan Williams says Walker could probably play even heavier with how athletic he is, and I think you're probably right. I do feel that way. He's listed, I think, at 272 or 3. I think he played a little bit heavier than that this year. I want to say he was right around 275. I could be wrong. On that, but I do wonder if he gets up a little bit more. I was just looking up for the sake of it now. What's Trayvon? Is Trayvon like 6'4", 6'5"? Does that sound right? I was looking up Calais, and the reason why Calais comes to mind because he's much like Armstead. Really, they're athletic-looking linemen, right? Like they can play on that outside, they can play on that inside.
This has him at 6'5".
Trayvon 6'5". Okay, so Calais is 6'8", right? And Calais, at least from what I could just find, he was drafted at 290. But he's also fluctuated. Like I don't know what he's playing at right now, but he has played as heavy as like 305, if I'm not mistaken, when he was in Jacksonville, playing that inside 3 technique and also then moving to the outside where he could play both, got a little bit heavier, obviously, over 300 pounds, but he could still move. And so felt, I would say, let's just say between 295 and 305, he's probably moved in his career. I don't think Trayvon has the frame to get that high, right? But I do wonder if he can get high enough where because they would like to move him at times inside to that 3 technique, Austin. And do we see him as he continues to become even a bigger grown man? It's hard to say that Trayvon Walker's not a grown man, but he's only 24 years old, Yeah. But as he continues to grow into his man strength, if you will, that he does get north of 280, 285, and that would still keep him at least give him the versatility to play both those spots at a very high level. I don't know what the magic number is, but I kind of agree with Ryan. I think he could probably put a little bit more on and still handle it. He's such a freak athletically.
No, without a doubt. But I'm just going to, throw some caution out there a little bit where if you move him inside, then what's the plan going to be on the outside? Like, are you going to move Lloyd then on the outside? Because, right now we're talking about this team and what they need. And yes, interior defensive line is one of those things, but also in terms of edge depth, there's not a lot to go around right now. So you got to keep that in mind of what you have on your roster. Where if you have a couple edge rushers, then by all means, I'm not opposing to moving Trayvon Walker down on the inside. But the way that it looks on paper right now, you got a guy that's getting back-to-back seasons of at least 10 sacks. I'd keep him on the outside until further notice.
Yeah, but I should probably put this in full context, at least in my mind. What I'm thinking here, and I didn't say it, is not for tomorrow or next year or this fall, whatever else. I'm just saying as he gets to we saw Calais when he was 30 years old. So, let's just say he's 28 years old. The Jags look a lot different. They've got a lot that we don't even know what the Jags roster looks like. I'm just saying, as a player, does he eventually get to the point where he's so gifted and so talented, where Trent Baalke basically thought they could use him at 3 different positions, and he was the best player coming out of that draft. Now, that's coming from Baalke, but I'm just saying that's the talent evaluation of how good Trayvon Walker can be or is and gifted and with his size and physicality and speed and everything else. And so I would say more, is it 3-4 years down the road, Austin, where it's like, okay, now he's 285 pounds and he can play those positions, and the Jags can afford to have him play both those positions because you're right. I mean, I don't want to be moving him around right now. The caution, he's done well. He's back-to-back double-digit sack seasons. I really want to know now for Trayvon Walker, as we've really morphed this into a pass rush conversation, I want to know, can he get north of 15? And I don't know if there are enough sacks to go around for both of these guys to be able to do that, and that's going to be interesting to watch. But I think he's got the capability here. He's really turned it on. He's been around the ball a lot. If you go game by game over the last couple of seasons now, going back to the back end of 2023 to 2024, it's a smaller window with a lot of sacks. So the early part of his career, let's just take the first 25 games. I'll just throw that number out there. The sack total wasn't absurd. The last 25 games is really good. Like really, really good if my numbers are correct the way I'm remembering them. So is he even, again, he's 24. Like he's still an ascending player. We just haven't seen the ceiling, and we don't know. We now know what Josh's at least potential ceiling is. Maybe it's even more of it, but a 17.5 sack season is in Josh Hines-Allen. What's in Trayvon Walker will be fun to someday find out, I think, Austin.
No, without a doubt, man, because you feel like this guy hasn't even really scratched the surface of what he's capable of, right? So he is a freak of nature when it comes to athleticism in terms of size and everything. And when you keep piling on more years of experience and more years of just getting those reps in, yeah, it's going to be really fun to see the final product that is Trayvon Walker.
Yeah, I think, the one cool thing about it right now is it feels better around here in Jacksonville. So I think you can really celebrate guys like Trayvon and Josh. And again, last night was a little bit of that. Foye Oluokun as well, coming out there and being a part of this thing, going to the college hoop game. But the one thing, like Austin said already, is you don't need to motivate those guys. Let's just mention those three guys on the defensive side. Defense was worse in the league. But Josh Hines-Allen's such a pro. Trayvon already is such a pro. And there's that lineage of Calais, Josh, and now Trayvon. And Foye is such a pro. Like, these guys are going to bring it. Like, there's no question about that. So touching that ceiling again, doesn't matter they got paid or they're going to get paid or they're whatever else. They don't rest on that. And that is a good part of this defense. That's why we thought it would be better, quite honestly, than it was. So we'll see what the Jaguars can do, what Anthony Campanile can do. He's got some parts to work with now. They need to fill some things in. They need to get better. But we talk about the parts that Cohen has to work with in that offense. I think Campanile has some pretty good parts to come in here and make a big difference right away. And there's only one way to go on that defensive side of the ball. I mean, they were 32nd in a lot of categories. Hey, what about the fourth down category? When we come back here on the Brent and Austen Show on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network, Daniel Griffiths contributes to the show each and every day. Man, we love what he's doing, and we appreciate him. You can find all his stuff at actionsportsjax.com, and he gives us a good talking point each and every day. And we've got that one on fourth downs. Remember, Doug Peterson, really aggressive. What about Liam Cohen? What will we view him at? Or is it a league thing now? We'll get into that when we come back. Don't forget our partnership with Jax Pal, Jacksonville Police Athletic League. You can go check them out at jaxpal.org and see everything that they do, how you can help out, and what they do in Northeast Florida for kids. And you can even donate and be a part of it at jaxpal.org. Oh, this looks like so much fun, but I don't want to try it. PBR in town this weekend. And we visit with one of the bull riders coming up in the noon hour here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. Find it simply at actionsportsjax.com. When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. And most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team.
They sit in the dying moments.
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can save $500 on a Kinetico Premier softener and get a free Kinect salt monitor with purchase. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Kinetico water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Kinetico dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard Built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Well, congratulations to Bartram Trail. That was the goal from Allie Fletcher, and that was the only goal of the game. The Bears going back to a state championship game. They'll try to do it again. They get the 1-0 win over Sun Lake, and if I have my memory serves me correctly, they will play St. Thomas Aquinas tomorrow in a state championship game in girls soccer. Ponte Vedra also in there in girls soccer. St. John's Country Day now in the Final Four. Episcopal in the Final Four. Who am I leaving out? Why did I go down this road? Because I knew I'd leave somebody out. I think I might have them all. But man, it's great time of year. There's almost too much going on this time of year, which is weird, right? Because you think like football. So football's kind of over or whatever. Got a little bit of a lull. We'll go to the combine for the early part of next week. In and out there up in Indianapolis, but. There are so many other things like River City Rumble, a lot of local sports stuff, things that we really like to cover. And I actually was telling somebody this yesterday, like the basketball teams, like girls regional basketballs tonight, making it to a Final Four in high school is a really big deal. Hamby, you know that. In this state, especially in so many sports, I mean, it was a big deal. Even to have the opportunity to do that for so many kids or to make, like, it's kind of like the NCAA tournament. Where it's like you want to win the national championship, but when you make it to the Final Four, it's kind of like, hey, that's pretty damn good, right? So you try to celebrate it. You want to celebrate it. But we had like 6 teams locally playing last night in boys basketball, and I think we've got another like 6 tonight, and they're all tipping off at 7 o'clock. Like, we can't get it. And by the way, it's River City Rumble time for us, too. There are other things. So it's just kind of like frustrating because you'd like to give everybody their due and get all the games, but it's just really hard to do it. And I'm not sure the FHSAA should really care about that. I'm not saying they should. I don't know if they care about if the teams get coverage, and every market's not the same as Jacksonville across the state. But I was kind of like, can we stagger this thing a little bit? Like if you give us 5 and 7 o'clock, or 6 and 8 o'clock even or something, we can get to more games. Like, oh, and highlight more of the kids. Like that's really what you're trying to do. So, but anyway, that's my little TV frustration point for the day. Hey, listen, I just can't stop
Noted.
with FHSAA, right? I mean, I just like I want to be on the board someday, I guess.
No, you don't, because then there will still be people like me grilling you.
Yeah, I know. No, you don't. I do. I respect. I always say this about the FHA. I respect it. It's a lot. There's a lot to. It's a big state to have everybody under one kind of set of rules, right? That's a really tough thing to do. I appreciate that. Brent Martineau, Austen Lane, Jason Hamby, and well, let's get into our that one painter First Coast paint the play, and we're painting fourth down pictures here today, Austen Lane. You know, it's really interesting. When we had Doug Peterson, I always thought part of Doug was we knew he would be aggressive. We knew he would go for it on fourth downs. He did that in the Super Bowl. I think I give Doug a lot of credit for helping change the game as analytics was coming to the forefront, but also what he did in that Super Bowl to beat Bill Belichick, what he did that year to be so aggressive on fourth downs, I think helped pave the way for where we are today in the NFL, where so many teams go for it now. And some do it more than others, understood. But a lot of teams are more willing to go for it on fourth down. And I really think that Eagles team under Doug Peterson helped pave that. And I don't know if that's true. I just say I feel that way. But the bottom line is what we don't know is how Liam Cohen is going to address this. We don't know his style. We know we think he can do great in the run game. We think he's going to do this in the motion game. We think he's going to do this in the screen game. We know what he does with quarterbacks. We really don't know stylistically what his approach is going to be from an aggressive standpoint. I think everybody would say they want to be aggressive, Austin, but I think actions will speak louder than words. We know Dan Quinn was aggressive in the postseason. I mean, he might as well just never have brought the field goal kicker to the stadium. He was going for it so much.
Yeah, I think Dan Campbell falls in that same category as well. And I think with analytics, and you know how I feel about a lot of analytics, but I feel like with the emergence of more and more analytics and all of these things, I do feel like the analytics do say go for it a lot more, right? And I think coaches kind of fall in line with that. I think, of the past, whether it was Riverboat Ron Rivera, you had a couple coaches that was their moniker. That was their identity of, hey, come hell or high water, man, we're going to risk it for the biscuit. But now I just feel like more and more coaches are falling under this philosophy because of what the percentages say of what to do. Yeah.
So do you think Liam Cohen is going to be aggressive? You equate young offensive guy as aggressive? What's his? We're going to figure him out. He's going to figure himself out. What's he going to be?
I think he'll be more on the side of aggressive. I always kind of feel like, and I'm trying to think back. I don't know. I always just felt like if you're an offensive-minded coach and you're an offensive, play caller, it's almost like you have the ego saying it doesn't matter if it's 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, we're going to go for it because I'm that confident in my abilities. I'm that confident in my offense. So I do feel like he's going to err on the side of being more aggressive than settling for 3 or trying to punt just because of just what his position represents.
Hamby, what do you think? Do you have a feel for that? Do we have a feel for that? Do we know that?
About how often?
About Cohen? About what?
I think he's got to be leaning at least aggressively. I would be shocked if he leans passive.
Yeah, I would be too, I guess, but I don't want to assume it, is my point. I tend to agree with you there. I think I'd be a little bit surprised if that's I feel like young, I feel like offense, I feel like older defensive guy conservative.
Well, yeah,
I feel like younger offensive guy, go for it, right?
Especially,
by the way, Doug Peterson and Dan Quinn were
Rivera.
Yeah, good point.
The most
Riverboat
aggressive, and he was
and so was Jack Del Rio, by the way.
That's true.
Yeah,
but I feel like as far as in general, especially if you're the guy who's calling the plays, you're going to have a lot more confidence in the certain situations that you can that you have a play that you can draw up to go get it.
Good feel for it.
Right.
Yeah.
You have the exact feel. You've watched it. If you're a defensive-minded coach, you maybe in practice have not watched every single, conversion drill that you've done. If you're the play caller, you know exactly where each guy's going to be, and you're not just going off of somebody else's word, which is, how it goes for guys like Rivera and Quinn, that they trusted 100%, I'm sure. But I just feel like there's an extra couple percentage points if you are the play caller where you know this is going to work and you have a lot of confidence.
Why do my eyes never read these graphics totally great? I think I've got this one, but this looks like a game of Tetris to me right now.
So the 0 would be on the goal line.
Yeah, that's on the left part of the screen, right?
Yes,
Bottom left is the 0.
Yes, left is red area.
So what's surprising about this, really, Hamby, if I'm reading this right,
There's a lot of
is you go all the way back to
line.
inside your own 5, though. It says to go, ESPN Analytics says to go for it even inside your own 5 or 10 or whatever that, well, actually that would be on your own 15.
Right.
And on 4th and 1 or, 4th and 1.
Right.
Analytics says go for it on 4th and 1 on your own 15.
Austin, you grasping?
Yeah. This is, how I feel about analytics. I don't care if it's the first quarter, second quarter, or third quarter. If you have the ball on your own 15-yard line and it's 4th and 1, you're going to punt it. Because to me, the risk, okay, so let's say this, and this is why analytics are stupid sometimes. Let's say, seriously, dumb. Because let's say you're playing at home. You're playing in Jacksonville. Okay, playing a divisional opponent. 4th and 1 on your own, let's call it 12-yard line. And you decide to go for it. And maybe you convert it. Who's to say that you even get to cross midfield?
Right.
Maybe you don't. But if it's 4th and 1 on your own 12 in Jacksonville against a divisional opponent and you don't convert it, well, no, that's points for the other team. And now you've lost all momentum of the game. And yes, football has momentum. And yes, it's a real thing. So this is why I feel like sometimes analytics are the dumbest thing ever, because are these analytics taking into account momentum? Are these analytics taking into account, well, can you actually cross a 50-yard line? I don't think so. So that's the variables all this time, this analytics crap that never really gets recognized. It's just, okay, it's an exact science. Well, no, it is not.
Well, the other thing about it to me a little bit along that vein, and I will be less critical of the analytics, I guess, with my word choice, but I would just say, how do we really know this? Why does the computer spit this out? You're right. There's so many things that don't get taken in to account. But you're telling me really that at your own 15-yard line, if you go for it, the risk reward of going for it on 4th and 1 is so high of the reward that you're willing to give up. It's a 3-point play if it goes bad. Right. At the minimum, it might be a 7-point play. But how does the computer really generate that? That doesn't seem like that would be good. If that was my 401k, I wouldn't be risking it. And by the way, football has become your 401k week in, week out. There's a lot on the line each and every week.
Because whether you deposit into your 401k depends on your bet slips.
No, I'm talking about for a coach and players.
No, I know.
It's their livelihood, which is a big livelihood in each and every week. You can lose your job in a week. Just ask Matt Eberflus, right? I mean, you can absolutely do that. The one good thing about this analytics chart at least shows that they do think the punter should exist. If you do have it at your 5-yard line and it's 4th and 1, they say punt it.
Yeah, but once again, and you can say if you don't convert it that it's a 3-point swing or a 7-point swing, but I disagree with that. I think it could be more because once again, you lose momentum, and momentum is a big part of football. And if you surrender the football at your own 15-yard line with the opposing team getting ready to go in and score, or at least get a field goal, that to me is more than 3 points. That to me is more than 7 points. It's why we always talk about turnovers. It's why I always talk about, sudden changes in the game, because they're influential on how the game plays out. And these analytics don't cover that. So yeah, once again, more analytics that are giving me a headache, but I appreciate the graph.
Well, there's a beefier side of this, Daniel Griffiths' article, and you'll find it, the whole thing, the whole explanation on actionsportsjacks.com. But I want to at least tell you this part of it because I think it's interesting. He says the final 4 teams in the NFL were the top 4 teams who converted the most 4th downs. So let me read it the way he says. It might make more sense. When looking at the teams who converted the most 4th downs, the top 4 teams were ... the final 4 teams in the NFL playoffs. To add to that, of the 11 best teams at converting 4th down conversions, 10 made the playoffs. Who would have thought that it was that significant of a metric? Now, there are a lot of other metrics like turnovers and other things that probably carry the same weight, but that's a pretty tried and true metric to say, hey, if you make 4th down conversions at a pretty good rate, you're going to the playoffs, Austin. That seems like, wow, I would not have guessed that.
No, I probably wouldn't have guessed that either, but I would assume that good offenses that can move the ball, that get yourself. I mean, like, how many times did the Jaguars, get down to like the 40 or the 30 of their opponent when it was like 4th and 1? So I think that comes into play a little bit too in terms of momentum of how teams can drive down a field and then convert these 4th and 1s, whatever the case may be. I mean, we saw this with Philly all year where you couldn't stop the tush push. The Jaguars could stop the tush push, but nobody else could stop the tush push. And by the way, I mean, yeah, oddly enough. And listen, Ryan Nielsen, not sure what's going to happen with him. Does he get like a position coach, whatever the case may be? But no, seriously, dude needs to go online and make a master class or do a 10-minute TED talk about.
The Cowboys need to hire him as their D-line coach.
No, they should.
There you go.
Tush push counter analyst.
Tush push analyst.
Yeah, because the dude, I mean, had the tush push down. Obviously, he didn't have a lot of things down, it seemed like last year, but he knew how to stop the tush push. And we keep talking about we got to change our interior defensive line. Well, with what he had at his disposal, he stopped the tush push. So
there you go, Jerry Jones.
There you go, Jerry Jones.
The Jags, by the way, were, according to Daniel Griffiths, 19th in the NFL at converting 54% of their 4th downs.
Yeah,
so they're 19th. And Tampa and the Bucks converted on 64% of their 4th downs, 9th in the NFL. So they were one of the teams that made the playoffs. So it's not a huge difference there, right? I mean, it doesn't seem like it's not like it's got to be 80%. The Jags have to tick up in that department, get north of 60%, probably 65%. One more thing just before I forget to tell you about, because I think this is part of the equation here, which also will be interesting to see how you choose to play it. The league year started with us raving about kickers and maybe narrowing goalposts. It's not the way it actually ended. There are a lot of kickers that ended up struggling midway through toward the end of the year, and even the postseason kickers were not the most reliable kickers in the National Football League. It felt like they didn't trust them at times, and maybe that's why Dan Quinn went for it so many times. But the interesting thing as it relates to Jacksonville is it looks like they've got themselves a hell of a young kicker in Cam Little. So how does that factor in to what Liam Cohen will do? He made 27 of 29. He's got a big leg, guys. So that's another element here where you think you can rely on that guy to be able to give you 3 points, which would then impact maybe your 4th down decision based on where you are in the field.
Absolutely.
Brett, when you go back to I gotta look this up, but when you said that the Bucs were 9th in 4th down conversion.
Well, I didn't. Daniel Griffith said that.
Right.
I did read it, though.
That makes me wonder what the potential, because we think about the Bucs, I think of Baker Mayfield being a little bit more threat with his legs and also extending plays and kind of doing the crazy stuff in the backfield, scrambling around, switching sides of the field, all that stuff. So what I'd be curious to see is how many design runs, because Baker's not a big design run guy. He's capable. He did a lot more of it at Oklahoma. He hasn't done a ton of it in the NFL, especially with the Bucs, it seems like, but he's still capable of it. So I'd be curious to see how many rushing attempts per game he had last year, because I wonder if that is something that we see kind of evolve in Trevor Lawrence's game. That's something that Liam Cohen tries to bring out of Trevor Lawrence slightly. I know that Trevor Lawrence is not the guy. It's not his game to go scramble and switch sides of the field and run around and throw on the run all of the time in the way that Baker Mayfield does and Lamar and Josh and Mahomes and all those things. He's more of a pocket guy and he's boot, right, when it's planned, a designed rollout and stuff like that. But if Mayfield had success with it and Cohen can bring it out just a little bit more, right? If it's in there just a little bit more. So there's kind of 2 aspects of that. Do we see a little bit more of the design run, a little bit more RPO? And do we see them work on a little bit, getting Trevor out of the pocket, but him also taking that upon himself, where there's potential where, maybe he wants to do that, and Doug Press and Mike McCoy, that conglomerate, told him, no, you stay in the pocket. If it's not there, you don't extend, you throw it away, or you just take off, because there's many options that you can choose. Does Liam say, don't throw it away necessarily? See if you can extend it, scramble around, and we really work on, for our receivers, coming back to the football, making yourself open, because that's also another thing that playoff teams do that Jacksonville doesn't seem to do. Is that just because it's not necessarily in Trevor Lawrence's A-plus skill set? Is it something that we don't work on a lot? Is it something that the receivers maybe aren't as good at? But you look at all the playoff teams, and I know I'm kind of on a hit in multiple aspects there. They're phenomenal at uncovering themselves. We hear that every time we watch a Chiefs game. We hear it every time we watch a Bills game, and Ravens also. When the guy's scrambling, the quarterback's scrambling, he's got nowhere to go. They uncover themselves. They find a way to get open. They come back to the football, and a lot of times those are some of their biggest gains in the football game.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of times Mahomes seems to beat you with his legs more than his arms, even in the postseason this year at times. Austin, I do think this conversation is fascinating because Trevor can move the ball with his legs. There's been some debate on how good he is at even the short yardage stuff at the QB sneak. I sit here and watch football games all the time, and I'm like, if it's 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3, if I'm the quarterback or I'm the play caller, I'm doing backyard football here when you had to get across midfield to get a new set of downs, and it's just like, I'm dropping back, and then I'm just running for 3 yards. Like, I can get 3 yards because everybody's downfield, and the gap usually opens, and you just, hey, look like you're going to throw, and then 2 seconds later you're off and running. Unless you're getting spied, I don't think they can stop it just to move the chains. Like, that's the play I would call all the time. But the other big facet here is, yeah, he can move. He can run. You can use that, but he's also been banged up for 2 years in a row now. So how much do they want him doing that, Austin?
I want him doing it, if I'm being honest, because I think if you look at Baker Mayfield and what made Baker Mayfield have great numbers last year and really have kind of a resurgence of his career, it wasn't necessarily like Baker Mayfield's a dual threat quarterback, but he's not that. But to me, it's what Aaron Rodgers had when he was in his prime. It's the threat. You have to exemplify that there's a threat at any time that this quarterback can run out of the pocket, get 20 yards, and change this momentum of the game, right? And that's why when I played Aaron Rodgers, I hated playing Aaron Rodgers because you never knew if he was going to stay in the pocket or if he was going to take off and go. Now, obviously, that was the prime Aaron Rodgers. The Aaron Rodgers you see before you now is a little different, but Baker Mayfield fits in that mold, and Trevor Lawrence can fit in that mold as well. We don't need to see Trevor Lawrence doing a lot of RPO, a lot of designed runs, but what you do need to see is defenses respecting Trevor Lawrence and saying, man, we better be on our P's and Q's when we try to call these games, on the defensive line, because if we leave a hole open here or here and he takes off, it'll be for 15, 20 yards. And that's, to me, is what great quarterbacks can do. Yes, you're going to have your Josh Allens, your, Jane Daniels, Lamar Jacksons, who are just gifted at running the football, where they're going to have those designed runs and they're going to take off. But then you have your guys like Patrick Mahomes. You have your guys like Baker Mayfield, where they're not necessarily looking to run, but if it presents the opportunity, they'll take off and get a first down. And that, to me, is what Trevor Lawrence has to do. And he's got to be smart about it. You have to get down, right? And you can't have, hopefully, another cheap shot from a different player, taking you out of the game. But no, I'm all for Trevor Lawrence scrambling around, moving around, and keeping the defense on their heels.
Yeah, I think you got to be able to do it. I do think you just said something. You got to be smart about it. And there's a lot going through a quarterback's head now when you've got injuries to think about, and you got to be smart about it. You got to, obviously, turnovers at the time, the last couple of years, and you got to be smart about it. That starts to put a lot of things that weigh on him. But I think it's fascinating, Hamby, that we talk about Lamar Jackson in this vein in the early part of his career. Hey, he can't keep running, he's going to get hit. Josh Allen, hey, can he keep running? He's going to get hit. You name it. Name the guy right now. Jaden Daniels, going to keep running? Is he going to get hit? Is he going to get hurt? Well, I mean, we're really asking that question right now about Trevor Lawrence. He doesn't run to the amount of those guys, but we are asking that because he has been injured when he's run the football. And it's not just blindside hit, dropping back and passing, where he's been hurt. His injuries have come more often by running the football, trying to gain the extra yard, being a competitor, and those are the same instances where he's lost the football on fumbles the most times. This guy's trying to win. He's trying to make winning plays. He's giving you the effort. When he does that, sometimes it works. But other times there's been some adverse things that have happened.
Yeah, this is one of those things that if I were a coach, it'd be tough for me to really fault the dude. Like, as soon as you try to take the competitor out of a guy, like, you can only try to hamper him so much before you pretty much just, like, you're telling him to go out there with a muzzle on, or you might as well go in a straitjacket or whatever. Like, you're hampering him so much. So, I mean, look, is there conversations that need to be had? Just, hey, stay focused on taking care of the football, cover it up, get out of bounds when you can. At the same time, if I'm down 4 with 2 minutes to go, lay the boom.
Yeah, like the Kansas City game in the playoffs, right? When he makes that run before Agnew fumbles, and he got popped. What a great play it was. It was going to be, guys, if they come back and win that game somehow, it was going to be an epic play. in Trevor's career.
Right.
That run, because he took the hit, got the first down. I believe it was 3rd and 10. We don't even talk about it.
Yeah.
We don't talk about it because Agnew ended up fumbling later on. But if they were to have come back and somehow found a way, there was still a lot of work to be done, by the way, in that game. But if they were to do that, that would have been one of those epic plays, and it would have come with his legs.
It would have. And it's weird that we kind of have this conversation because Trevor's the guy that should be able to do it because he's Josh Allen type build. He might be a tad skinnier, but he's still 6'6".
He's definitely skinnier.
And he's got some
leaner, let's just say that.
But, he's not in the same vein as Lamar Jackson and Jaden Daniels, who are pencils.
But he's only 223 or something. I mean, he's not a big guy. Like, he's not Hurts with the bottom half.
Right,
you know what I
sure.
mean? Like, he's not benching 650.
Right. So, yeah.
Here I go again, right?
Brent just can't help himself. Can't help himself when we talk about the trunks of NFL players and professional
How do you want me to describe it?
The trunk. Let's go.
All right, let's get out of here.
Real quick, I do want to just throw out there, last year Baker Mayfield had 60 rushing attempts. Don't know how many of those were scramble versus design, but he had 60. I discounted Trevor's 2024 because obviously he was hurt, so 2023 he had 72.
Wow.
And in 2022 he had 63.
Wow. And by the way, the end of 23,
he ran a good bit.
He ran a good bit that year, you said. That was career high, but he also was banged up for the final 5 games of the year, too.
But you remember that's the Saints game on Thursday night. He's banged up, and he's still good.
He ran for
8,
a bunch.
9,
ran for a bunch that game.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, he can't run. He's got an ankle injury.
That's his best run game of the season.
It might have been his best run game of his career. Passion for the job. You always love folks that have that stress-free, mess-free service, respect time, and communication. Well, that's what they do at That One Painter First Coast. Also value-based pricing. Check them out at thatonepainter.com/first-coast. Locally owned right here in Jacksonville, 904-643-3025. Thatonepainter.com. First-Coast. Check them out, 904-643-3025. It's a great time of the year to paint, by the way, because not as much in the rainy season. That will hold a lot better over the next couple of months. But they can do any work, inside, outside, all year long for you. That One Painter, First Coast. We're going bull riding when we come back here on Action Sports Jax with the Brent and Austen Show. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special offers. If Jacksonville is home, few things feel more Jacksonville than Bono's Pit Barbecue. Celebrate 75 years and many more to come. Bono's Pit Barbecue. If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit.
For the game day hustle and every day in between. Juggling my show, Jags Social, to going under the Friday night lights and a social life, it's a daily tournament. But this ride, MVP status. The all-new 2024 Lincoln Nautilus isn't just my car, it's my personal locker room, office on the go, and VIP lounge on wheels. Let's talk tech. My profile remembers everything from customizing my dash display to setting the ambient lighting and my signature scent. And wireless charging, essential for live tweeting scores. Whether I'm packing for a beach day with friends or heading to the gym, there's space for every passion. After dominating all day, this becomes my recovery zone. The massage feature is like having a personal PT on call. Life's a non-stop game, but with this ride, I'm always on my A game. The 2024 Lincoln Nautilus. Drive your passion.
You trust CGC to make your water great, and now you can trust CGC with your plumbing needs as well. Fast, convenient scheduling, licensed and insured. A quick call away at 904-552-1242. You never know when you're going to have an issue with a shower, toilet, or maybe it's a sink that sometimes is easy to fix. All right, let's be honest. I'm not fixing anything. I'm totally staging this because when I have a plumbing problem, I call CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing. Trained professionals, transparent pricing, customer satisfaction. Small problem or even a bigger issue. Right now, you can take 10% off any water heater. The experts with 25 years of experience at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing can do it all. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. For a limited time, CGC is waiving the trip charge on all related plumbing calls. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Here on Spring Sports Media Day on Action Sports Jax.
It's an opportunity, an education beyond the classroom and the sports arena. Life skills, testing skills, social skills. It's called High School 912, a program focused on maximizing the growth of students in academics, sports, and life. And here's your chance to get involved. If you're a local business, or if you just want to make a donation to help support programs like ACT and SAT boot camps, career days, Leadership Academy, Financial Literacy Academy, and so much more.
Another Nice High School Panther, Jack Cole.
High School 912 supports and hosts high school sporting events and several media days throughout the year. For more information on how you can get involved, visit jaxhighschool912.com.
It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access. Welcome to Spring Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence. You can bring your party or event to Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays. Here at Springs, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Well, that's what you got coming to town this weekend. Always fun when PBR arrives in Jacksonville. And, we usually get a guest on. And these are always fun to check out the backgrounds and, the different sports we get to cover here in Jacksonville. There's a lot coming up. It's so wild. There's a week. The Players' Championship is coming up in the middle of March. We just had the Daytona 500. We obviously talk football all the time. We've just been mentioning all the local sports that are happening in the high school ranks and River City Rumble last night, college basketball. And all of a sudden on my calendar, I'm getting March 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. We've got the Amelia up in Amelia Island with the Concours d'Elegance, as you know, and we've been telling you all about that. And the QR code on the left side of your screen, you can get tickets to that one. But we have so many other things, like NHRA Gator Nationals are that weekend. And I just got some news about a tennis event and other things. It must be the hottest calendar time of the year, right before the Players' Championship, to get all these events. So we'll tell you about those coming up over the next couple of weeks. And then we got, this coming into town. PBR Team Championships and Championships here in Jacksonville. And we've got Mason Taylor on the show. I was just telling Mason about Austin's background in the UFC and about the NFL. And I don't think he wants to fight you, but I don't think you want to ride a bull.
I wouldn't mind riding a bull. It looks like fun, man, but I don't want to handle the repercussions of riding said bull, man. So I'm going to let Mason handle that, and I'll handle the octagon.
Yeah. Of course, right when we get you on, it looks like you got a little Wi-Fi thing. They must be all waking up out there in Las Vegas right now with the rest of the crew.
Yeah,
Mason,
try to adjust that quick.
Now you're good,
Sorry.
Mason. It's okay. We can hear you fine. By the way, Mason just got done with a little Florida swing. Daytona 500 on Sunday, TGL in the new golf league down in South Florida.
Yeah.
And now you go get on that bull this weekend.
Yeah, man, it's been a really fun week here in Florida already. We went to the Daytona 500, had a little rain delay, but, it was pretty cool. And then going to the TGL event, that was the highlight of my week so far. I'm kind of a golf nerd, so whenever I got to go be a part of that, man, I loved it.
Now, you're from Texas. Great golf courses out there in Texas. You just always love golf, or did you take it up late, or...
Man, Honestly, kind of during COVID, you know, the golf course by my house, that was really the only thing open to go do. You know, you couldn't go out to eat, couldn't go do nothing. So I started playing golf with a couple buddies, and you know, then I got the bug, and if I'm not riding a bull, I'm at the range practicing on the putting green, working on my short game. I'm always playing, doing something.
That is a lot of the world is like that, by the way, especially in your age group category. You're about 25, 26 years
25,
old.
yeah.
Yeah, and that really happened around the pandemic because you're not alone right there. I mean, you got to come to the Players' Championship sometime.
Oh, absolutely.
It's an event.
I would love that, man.
You got to come back. You just missed that one on this window. I just asked you about being in Florida. You love it so far. You've had a great trip. But what about this weekend in Jacksonville? What makes this stop pretty good?
Just because, you know, it's the best guys against the best bulls. You know, these are the top bulls in the country, and you got the best bull riders in the world, you know, going head to head. And it's always great when you get to come to Florida. You get to experience a little sunshine, a little, you know, a little vacation spot, because everywhere around here is just beautiful, you know. Get to experience some beaches, hang out, you know, and it's a really all-around fun week.
Well, I was asking you, Austin, we'll let you jump in here in a second, but I was asking him about Ryan Preece went for a heck of a ride in that Daytona 500 late in that race. I mean, just unbelievable. The 60 car was upside down on the roof, ends up walking away. Yeah. And I got thinking, I'm like, man, you got that 8-second ride. It's a hell of a ride on a bull. And so was that for these NASCAR guys. I mean, I don't know which one you'd rather be in. I don't know if you'd sign up for that ride he went through.
No, I wouldn't. Not to be able to be going that fast and be flying that long and wrecking out into the wall and everything. That I wouldn't sign up for that.
What a rush, though, Austen Lane.
Yeah, I mean, probably the ultimate rush, man. Like I get, you know, my rush in the cage, and it can be 15 minutes, it can be a couple seconds. But you, man, like, you know, it's going to be like 8 seconds, and that's about it. But Mason, what I'm very curious about, because, you know, obviously you're a professional athlete, and being an athlete, it's all about practicing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how do you practice what you do? Because obviously there's like the risk versus reward. So like, do you have bulls at your house that you just ride and you practice on them, or is it just like do you get your practice like in the competitions?
You know, a little of both.
Okay.
You know, we've started kind of going year round now, and when we're going year round, your body's already getting wore out, getting tired, getting beat up, banged up. You know, and you might not actually have any injuries, but you are sore all the time. You know, your legs are sore, your core's sore, your back's sore. You know, your arms get sore. Like, everything stays sore. So kind of now, you know, I think a bunch of guys have dialed back getting on practice bulls at home, just because, man, when you get home on a Sunday evening or a Monday morning, last thing you want to do on Tuesday and Wednesday is get up and go get on another one because how sore you are on after the weekend.
Yeah.
But that's where the gym comes into play. You know, I found out that the more sore I am, the more I stay moving and the more I get in the gym and I'm doing something, you know, it's kind of like my body gets used to it and it quits hurting. You know, like whether it's being on a row machine or, you know, doing a core workout or something, you know, like if I can engage what's sore, it's like it just works itself out from being sore, you know. So it's a lot better than just sitting, you know, at home on the couch waiting on Thursday to roll around, you know, to finally start moving and getting some things done to go do it again the next weekend, you know.
I think it's an interesting question, too, because all we talk about now in sports is recovery.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and you don't think that you got a tough guy sport. He's in a tough guy sport. I mean, but the recovery is really important.
Yeah.
At least to feel as good as you can. By the way, you're doing that at 25, 26 years old. I'm not sure you're going to feel the same way in another 10 years, man. It gets a little harder.
Yeah. That's I don't think I'll be riding bulls in 10 years. I would love to have something involved in the sport, but yeah, I plan on hanging it up at about 30.
Wow. And so you roadmap that out?
Yeah. You know, just from the sole fact of I don't want to ever be one of them guys that, you know, keeps going way after his prime. I don't want anybody to be like, man, he was good at one point, but, you know, he's still right. He don't need to be riding. He don't need to be doing that. You know, he's just making himself look bad. I want to be able to hang it up on my own time, and I want to be able to go out, you know, when I'm still at my best.
Well, you know, in your bio, this is never something that caught my attention until right now. It says riding hand right.
Yep.
Is there a big difference? Educate us a little bit. If
yeah, so
left
there's
versus right.
Yeah, there's a you know, kind of, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, like when, you know, the PBR was booming and like all these guys were, you know, coming around. When you start getting the best bulls involved, you know, these guys are like, you want your more dominant hand down, you know. When as to back in the day, you know, whenever you jumped on a barrel, you know, you might have stuck one hand down and it felt comfortable to you, so that's the hand you rode with.
Yeah.
If I had to do it over again, I'd probably be left-handed because, 70% of the bulls nowadays turn to the left.
Interesting.
And it's easier to ride a bull into your hand than it is away from your hand.
See that? We're learning something.
Interesting. Yeah.
But a guy like me, and there's a couple of us, we find it easier away from our hand. So me being right-handed with 70% of the bulls going left, that's my favorite direction anyway.
Okay.
So when they go left, it actually helps me, but it is harder because, you have to do stuff so technically perfect for it to work.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Why are the bulls 70% to the left? And you said nowadays, has
I
that
think
changed?
just naturally dominant in that lead.
Okay.
Like you have a person that, starts picking up a pencil and writing and throwing left-handed, that person is just dominant with their left hand. I started throwing a baseball and doing everything with my right hand, and I kind of think that's how a bull is, when they're young. They're bred to buck, and whenever you buck them, it's naturally easy for them to buck going to the left than it would be if they were to go to the right.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, Mason, I find it so fascinating because you're in a sport where obviously there's a lot of risk, but also there's so much style that goes into it as well, where you have to not only do you have to ride a bull, but you have to make it look good, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm in a cage, man. I'm not concerned about what my punches look like. I'm just trying to knock somebody out.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what it looks like as long as I get the job done.
Yeah.
Your sport's different. Like it matters what you look like when you're doing said sport as well. So when you're on that bull, how much of it is, okay, I got to make sure to keep my hand up or do you not even think about it? Do you just kind of flow through it?
Because we're at a professional level now, kind of like you are. When you get in the cage, you're not thinking how to throw a jab. It
Correct.
comes natural.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So whenever we leave out of the buck and shoot, it's all reaction. Our mind isn't being able to go that fast to catch up to a bull that's bucking and moving that quick. Now, yes, everything does clear up, around the 5-6 second mark, and it slows down, and you're like, okay, I'm still in the middle. But, your body has to take over, and, that's why everybody says that there's a style to it. Well, that's just the basics. If you hone in the basics every single day and that's all you do is try to perfect the basics of bull riding, it's going to look very fluent and very easy and very pretty all the time. But like you said, in a fight, you're not worried about what goes wrong or what is fixing to happen. You're trying to knock the other guy out. Well, sometimes a fight breaks out while we're on the middle of their back. We might have it start out where it's looking really pretty, but the bull do something different, and now we're on the side of him. Then it turns into a fight. You can either decide to let go and take a 0, or you can be able to take what's fixing to come, whatever that be. Whether you make the whistle and still get off fine, or you get hit in the mouth, or you land underneath him and he kind of step on you as he's leaving, you got to be willing to take everything that comes, because at the end of the day, if you get a 0, you don't get paid.
Well, and you're known for your toughness, by the way, and you had that jaw wired shut when you had one of your best rides, right?
Yeah, that whole week my jaw was wired shut, and I couldn't eat nothing, and I was miserable, and I couldn't. Yeah, I mean, when I take my helmet off, you can see the braces and stuff, but I couldn't. I was miserable all week, but that was the best I've ever rode.
Wow, that's courtesy of PBR, by the way, on CBS there, and man. So how did you get your jaw wired shut earlier in the week, or?
Yeah, so the week before that, or about a week and a half before that, we had our last event in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I collided heads with a bull. Probably the easiest bull there, which was so dumb. Like I should have rode that bull so easy. But whenever the draw come out, I was so excited, and I just kind of took it, like, man, I'm gonna ride this bull easy, and didn't take it as serious. Even if it's the easiest bull in the world, man, that thing can things can happen. And whenever he jerked me down the first time, he hit me in the head, and I tried to sit back up, but my feet were already behind me, so it just happened again. And when it happened again, I broke both sides of my jaw.
Wow.
Yeah, my 2 front teeth are fake. I didn't ride the mouthpiece back then, and when it broke my jaw, it knocked both my 2 front teeth out.
Wow.
It was so they're fake, and I had hell eating stuff for a while, but we're all good now.
You almost in your world, you got to almost have one of those stories, though, right? I mean,
every bull rider's got something.
Was everybody telling you not to jump on the next week with that, or were you like, nah, who cares? Let's go.
Man, you don't need I heard JB Mooney say one time, you don't need a jaw to ride bulls, and he's right.
Yeah.
If it was my riding hand or it was a leg or something, we probably had to take a different route to try to get to be able to ride. But all I had to do was make sure that, I stayed hydrated and was drinking my protein shakes because, you can't eat nothing.
Yeah.
And that was really all I was worried about, was trying to stay healthy enough that where I could ride all week.
Was that is that your favorite ride right there because of all the circumstances?
So I rode 5 out of 6 bulls that week. And that whole week was just probably, the highlight of my career so far, just because of the fact that I knew I couldn't get hit in the face. If I got hit in the face again, it was going to be a bad deal.
Oh, yeah.
My jaw's already broke. If I were to get hit again, it would have shifted or done something. They told me it wouldn't have been good. Just don't get hit in the face. So I kind of got the best helmet that we have. I started riding in that helmet. And some things just went right that week, man. Like I can't really explain it. It was just an awesome week.
Hey, Austin, you can't go to the cage with that same mentality. You got to get hit in the face, pal. Sorry.
No, for sure. But dude, I love the energy that Mason's bringing to the table, though, man. Because even when we're talking about a wired jaw and everything, like you could still see the smile on his face, right? Because he had to overcome that obstacle. It's like a couple weeks ago, Brent, when I got my sparring stuff and nose was a little busted, eyes a little swollen.
He showed up on the show, by the way, and he looked like he had just gone. I mean, well, he was sparring, and the other guy got a big part of it too. But I mean, his face looked like we did a show at midnight next Saturday night.
Yeah.
But it's what you sign up for, man. So you kind of embrace everything that comes your way. But Mason, I'm going to be honest with you, man. That bull's name you're riding was Body Count. If I'm a bull rider and I'm on a bull named Body Count, I'm hopping off. I'm like, nope, give me a different bull, man. This one's way too aggressive to me.
At that time, like that bull had went, like a year and a half without anybody staying on him. That was not the ideal first draw to have at the World Finals with a broken jaw.
Wow.
Just because he does hit a lot of people in the face. Like, he's just, the way he bucks, it's really hard to stay in the middle of him, and a lot of guys end up on his head, So I was thinking about that the whole time. I was like, dude, why in the crap did I have to come all the way out to Las Vegas, Nevada to get on this bull? Like, what the heck? Especially with my jaw broke. Like, I was not a happy camper for the first 2 days over there. But then once I rode him, the rest of the week was easy. I was like, man, if I can ride that bull there, like once I got that one under my belt, it was game on.
Hey, man, it locks you in too, right?
Yeah.
You're just locked in. You got to be focused, maybe a little bit extra.
Yeah, and all the doubt left my mind. Like all that doubt, all that fear, all that what I didn't know what was going to happen, man, it all left, because I was like, man, if I can do everything right and ride that bull right there, the rest of this week's going to be easy because not all of them are like him.
I'm burying the lead, by the way, big time around here. Like, Austin's not a country music guy, but I am. And so the story with Mason, if you really go, like, you got into this, like, right away. Your dad was in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then, Cody Johnson.
Let's go.
Of Cody Johnson.
Yeah.
Country music fame.
Well, so see, everybody thinks.
Are we talking to that?
It's not the same.
It's
the country music singer Cody Johnson. Now that guy did ride bulls.
He did, right?
That guy's from down where we all grew up riding bulls.
So it's an easy.
And it's an easy misconception.
Okay.
But the Cody Johnson.
Good, I just made it.
Yeah. But the Cody Johnson that helped me and kind of really made my career take that next step and that next leap. He made the PBR World Finals in 2012.
Okay.
Like, he was a phenomenal bull rider. Just had some injuries, and he had terrible hips, and he was just tired of riding, kind of got over it, and, just started helping me and a few other, kids from around where we're at. But everybody all the time, they're like, dude, what's it like living with Cody Johnson? And I was like,
I was ready to go there.
I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, does he just break out and start singing all the time? I'm like, not the same guy.
By the way, your Cody Johnson probably, man, that must be tough. He must get it all the time.
Oh, he does.
He's probably always being asked to play a guitar somewhere. But that's pretty cool, though. I mean, you grew up with that right there. Obviously, dad and everything else. So you just knew you were doing this, or?
Like, I've rode sheep, calves, steers, junior bull. Like, I played baseball and I boxed all the way along the way. Them were kind of my two sports that I liked doing, But really, when I was about 13 years old, I got tired of playing baseball, and I liked boxing a lot, but, I was always having to miss bull ridings to go to tournaments, to go to boxing tournaments. And it was starting to, eat me up because I was tired of getting my freaking butt kicked by other kids that were a lot bigger than me and better than me at boxing. And then, I was like, man, I'm good at riding bulls. Like, this is what I want to do. And my dad doing it all the time. And it was the same week I quit both. I'll never forget it. We were at the gym, and I finished a workout and had a great sparring session. And I was like, I won that, that sparring match. I'm good. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna leave it with that. I told my dad, I was like, Dad, I think I'm done boxing. And I didn't plan on quitting baseball that same week, but we had a tournament that weekend and just got skunked. We didn't win a game, and everybody was down. And I said, you know what? Screw all this. I looked at my dad. I went and talked to my coach that was not happy at the time, but I told him, I was like, hey, this is my last tournament. I'm done. And then as soon as we got to the car, I told my dad, I was like, hey, let's take bull riding as serious as we have in the past, but this is how I want to make a living. This is what I want to do.
How about that? At 13 years old, man, that's saying a lot. Hey, Austin, I say this all the time on the show, former baseball guy, by the way, and I say baseball guys are the fakest tough guys in the world. See, he couldn't fake it. That's the thing. He had to be a tough guy. He's boxing. He had to be real to get on a bull. They can't be like you have, you fake tough guy over there, yapping all the time and not throwing down. That's what happens in baseball. We always kind of poke fun at that. I do too, and I'm a baseball guy. But we're ready to admit it. Do we get in Jacksonville, when you see this crowd, do we get it around here? I mean, I feel like if you go to Texas with this and PBR, and you go out to Montana and Wyoming and places like that, my perception is like, man, those dudes are into it. Like, those people are like eating this up. How about here in Jacksonville?
Man, Jacksonville is actually a very big rodeo state.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bull ridings that go on down here. There's a lot of rodeos that go on down here. Like in Ocala, like there's Fort Lauderdale. There's all kinds of bull ridings that are down here. We're dang, I can't remember the name of the place for our team season.
It's okay.
Sunrise, Florida.
Sunrise.
Yeah. Sunrise.
You got it.
So, this is a very big, bull riding state. And you would think that going to Texas and Wyoming and Utah and everybody, they would get into it as much. They see it all the time. It's nothing new to them. It's nothing.
Yeah.
You go to New York City, you go to Everett, Washington, you go to all these places that you're like, man, they ain't going to understand bull riding. They ain't going to like it. Them are the best fans. Like, they get into it and rowdy. And Florida, I think it might be just because of all the alcohol partaken, but they're some of the best fans ever, Like, they get into it.
Hey, we can tailgate around here now.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bunch of NASCAR fans. They know how to do it before they go into an event.
They can absolutely do that. Cool deal, by the way, and I don't want to forget about it. The Boys and Girls Club getting a check later on this afternoon, and that must be probably one of the neat things, and I don't know, it's not a headline all the time, but just PBR in general, you guys get to go around with the country, the world with this tour, and be able to give back to local communities too, which is going to happen this afternoon for the Boys and Girls Club of Northeast Florida.
Absolutely. It's such a cool deal. Like, we did a club yesterday. We went and talked to a group of kids, and it's pretty neat to be able to go and kind of give back to the community, because at one point, I was one of them kids that didn't know what he wanted to be when he grew up. I knew I was always going to be an athlete, but I didn't know what sport I was going to do.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
Yeah. So it's pretty neat to be able to go back and be able to talk to them kids. And sometimes you forget how to be a little kid,
Yeah.
Yesterday we got to ask a 6-year-old what he wanted to be when he grew up, and he said, I want to be 18. So you never forget how simple little kids' minds are, and it just makes you always feel like, man, whatever's going on in the world, whatever's going on, like, little kids are just the best, because they keep everything so pure, so innocent, and the kid just wants to be 18. I would have never thought that a 6-year-old would say that, but it's just so fun to be around, people like that and try to give back a little bit.
That's cool. Austin, what you got?
Yeah, Mason, I'm really curious, man, because you mentioned, and you still got a lot of great years of, bull riding ahead of you, but you said when you were 30 that you're probably going to walk away just because your body was not going to allow you to, to keep on continuing. And what I'm curious about, Mason, is because, like, I look at what you do, and, like, I don't think you're crazy. I think a lot of people are going to call you crazy. A lot of people call me crazy. But, like, I don't want to speak for you, but, like, for me personally, like, I don't do it for fame, for, I'm an MMA fighter. I don't do it for, money. I do it because you're always chasing that feeling of having something in front of you and overcoming that obstacle, right? And I think a lot of athletes understand that. I think a lot of musicians can understand it. It's just, it's a feeling that it's hard to put on paper of just what you go through. And then when you come out on top, it's like the best feeling in the world. And my question to you, Mason, is when you are done riding bulls, what's going to take the place of that? What's going to take the place of that exhilaration, of that adrenaline, of just that feeling of, having that 8-second ride? Like, what are you going to try to pursue next?
I think what keeps everybody going and athletes going and to striving to still be a part of the sport once they do walk away is passion. You have a passion for the sport, we have a lot of components that go into the PBR. There's a lot of different, options that I could do once I do hang it up. And no, it's not going to scratch the itch of me being able to tie my hand into one, whenever I want, or be able going into that weekend knowing I get to tie my hand in there and I get to go see how good I am. There's a lot of things I could do. I might just try to do the CBS broadcast when I'm done, be a an analyst, when I'm done.
That's a rush for sure.
Yeah, be able to still be involved in the sport, whether it be in stock contracting or talking or maybe even one of these days, I hope that I'm able to, achieve the goals that I set out to do, and maybe one day I could be a coach of one of these new teams that we got. Who knows what? But there's so many things to be able to do nowadays with the PBR and how the team season has come about. There's so many ways that you can still be involved in the sport that has literally given me everything I own. It was a way that I could pay for a house at 22 years old. I bought my own place. I have my own trucks. I've got my own car. I'm married. I don't know if there's any other thing else that I could have done, because I don't have a high school diploma. I don't have a GED. I don't have a college degree. I don't have all these things. But bull riding allowed me to be able to still go out and provide for my family, be able to make great money, be able to do all these things. So, I would love to be involved with the sport that gave me absolutely everything I have when I'm done.
Great perspective there. You're wearing the New York Mavericks team. We talked about this, remember, a couple years ago when guys came in. And how has that part worked out? How is the team aspect versus obviously what looks like a very individual sport for 8 seconds, hopefully, when you're watching it from afar?
Man, we didn't think the team deal was going to work out. Like, we all at the Bull Riders were like, man, I ain't about to have no coach tell me what to do. I made it here by myself anyway, I ain't about to have him tell me especially if I think I'm better than he was when he rode.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, but that's kind of being, arrogant and being prideful and not letting your sport grow. So once we kind of all got beside the fact of, man, why do we have to do what somebody's going to tell me to do? I'm a grown man. Like, he ain't about to tell me what to do. But once you took your guard down and everybody kind of let it be okay to be a part of the team season, and we wanted to be a part of the team season, now it's my favorite part of the year. I love getting together with my 5 other freaking buddies that are, on my team, or the 6 other buddies on my team, and we have 5 starters. Now I'm not only riding for me, I'm riding for 4 other families. Because if I don't do my job, but they do their job, and I ended up losing the game for them, there's 4 other people that are looking at me like, hey, man, did you put in the work this week?
Yeah.
Did you, why did that happen?
So you got to buy in.
You got to buy in to putting in the work, to being a team, to being a great teammate, to being a team captain, to being, being able to listen to a coach, to be able to take everything with a grain of salt, because the whole organization is just trying to help you and make you better. I think it's elevated the sport of bull riding and elevated the PBR to where it can be a mainstream deal. I love every aspect of it.
That's awesome. This weekend in Jacksonville, of course, we're going to let you run. I know you've been on the Media Blitz. Appreciate you hanging out with us. But one last thing for you. It's probably the most obvious question, and I don't know how since you do it and many people don't, I don't know how you can describe it. What's it like? I mean, what's the 8 seconds like? It's unlike anything else.
Yeah, for sure. I've heard a couple people, explain it kind of like skydiving. I've never been skydiving, so I don't know that rush. But, it's kind of like whenever you nod, it's like an explosion going off. It's like a bomb happening. It's like in the matter of you doing this right here, it just explodes. The gate opens, he's bucking, you're trying to ride, dirt's flying everywhere, everybody's screaming and hollering. Like, unless you do it, I don't know if you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe whenever you're sitting, in your corner and they go, you ready?
Yeah.
Let's get it on. That feeling that you get where it's like, whoa, he's coming at me, it's kind of a, you can either be an aggressor and go get him, or you can let it come to you and you just try to, defend yourself. Like, I mean, I don't know really how to explain it, but it's a I love that feeling now. You know, it's the more nervous I get, I think the better I do, because like that's kind of how I get. Like it makes me kind of grit my teeth a little bit. You know, like you know that feeling's coming. That it's like it's the unknown. You know, you just want to go grab it. Like I don't know how to explain it.
Mason, let me ask you this real quick. When does that anxiousness go away? Because like, so when I'm walking towards the cage and everything, like it's almost like your brain's telling you, oh man, I'm about to do something dangerous. And your body's like, do I do this? But then as soon as I get in the cage and I see my opponent across from me, something just clicks where it's like, okay, I've been here a million times before. I feel at home. I feel calm. When does that calm come to you?
So the part of like me where I know that it's go time, and you know everything kind of leaves my head and I clear everything out and I go and I nod is probably, you know, whenever I finish taking my wrap and I lay my tail up on there. Like when I lay my tail up on there, I'm sliding up there and it's go time. You know, there's no turning back. There's no it's go time. Once you put your tail up on, you know, across their back, it's time for you to slide up and nod. So I feel like that, you know, no matter what I'm thinking about or whatever the bull's doing, whenever I finish taking my wrap, that's kind of when I go into like, I guess a Zen mode, you can say. You know, like it's go time. You know, like everything's gonna have to leave your head, or it's probably not gonna go the way you want it to. You know, So and when I'm in, you know, my zone, that I don't really call it a zone, you know, because I try to stay there.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a zone if you stay there. You know, I guess you could say like my zone, I can't hear the announcers. I can't hear the crowd. I can't hear my buddies. Like there's a couple voices that I can hear, and it's my dad, Cody Johnson, and Dalton Castle for some reason.
Wow.
Dalton rides bulls with me every weekend, and he's one of the only voices that I can hear on the back of the buck and shoot.
That's a great illustration.
I can't hear anybody but a select few voices. So it's just quiet, it's calm, and I'm trying to sit here and ride an animal I'm not supposed to stay on. You know what I mean? Like it's a really, really cool deal.
That's awesome. By the way, you walk into the cage, you walk getting ready to ride that bull. I feel the same way going out for a sportscast just about every night, guys. I kind of wonder if I should head out there or not. That's after I put on makeup, by the way. So I think we're like right away. We're in the same boat here.
Yeah,
no doubt about it.
Cloth, Brent.
I feel the same when I go for my adult flag football league.
I will say this as we wrap up with Mason Taylor. I do think the interesting part of what you guys do, I do think sometimes we feel it. Things get so slow for you, right? Whether it's 3 minutes in a cage, whether it's the first 30 seconds, it feels like you can get every little bit out of that 30 seconds. You can remember what you were thinking, what your movements were. When you're that 8 seconds, probably you can break down to almost like an hour.
Absolutely.
In your world. Like we do that even in our world. Like when I'm talking, I can kind of think through what feels like it's a second or two, but about 14 thoughts might go through my mind, right? Of what we're going to do, or if something was going wrong, or all those things. So it's amazing how the thing that you're doing can really slow down.
Yeah, sure.
Even though it goes so fast to everybody else on the outside. Again, and I'm not trying to compare my world to yours at all, just to let you know. 7:45 tomorrow night, 2:45 on Sunday here in Jacksonville. It is PBR.com, the place to go to check it out. Right here in Jacksonville. Mason Taylor, put on a show, man. Good luck the rest of the way.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Good luck with your match out there.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you, Jason. Good luck, man. Do your
yes,
thing.
sir. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. We will be back on the Brent Austen Show. Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network. Patrick Young joins us right after this.
The Tom Bush family of dealerships, they've been serving customers in the Jacksonville area for 55 years. They've been your go-to spot to get and stay on the road since 1970, and that's still the case here in 2025 and beyond, even if the cars have changed just a little bit.
Check out the sleek line of vehicles of the future. That's right, electric vehicles. Tom Bush offers a full lineup of reliable electric cars with state-of-the-art service facilities. Like the new VinFast, Tom Bush is among the first dealers in the entire country to offer the VinFast, and let me tell you, this thing is sweet. The good folks at Tom Bush have all the info on charging, service, tax credits, and everything you need to keep your EV running smoothly. BMW, Mazda, Volkswagen, Mini, and the newly offered VinFast. There's something for everyone at the Tom Bush family of dealerships. Ready to join the Tom Bush family? Stop by the showroom or check out the inventory online at tombush.com.
People helping people. It's at the core of what Alive Credit Union is all about, and it's been that way for over 70 years. From the start in 1954 to today, the mission remains to inspire financial wellness and give you a financially fit lifestyle. Alive Credit Union and its employees are committed to not only serving their valued members, but also our community here in Northeast Florida. I had a chance to see that commitment firsthand as Alive partnered with our Action Sports Jacks 24/7 team to bring you Armada men's and women's soccer broadcasts. Inside the 18, it is a shot, and it's a goal! Chloe Chivers! And that connection to the community continues with Alive Credit Union's support of the Police Athletic League of Jacksonville. Alive Credit Union's commitment to our community also involves serving the financial needs of all first responders through the recent merger partnership with City and Police Federal Credit Union. Join the community and become a member of Alive Credit Union today. Find out the many ways you can be inspired in financial wellness at alivecu.coop.
Everyone loves a good game night. Here you don't have to be the host. You don't have to clean up. They bring the food and drinks to you, and you can watch whatever you want on the big screens. It's more than a card room. It's a night full of fun with friends. Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and now the newest location here in St. Augustine, right off 95 at exit 311. A brand new clean room, a full bar and menu, my favorite sushi in town. And I love the fries too. You don't have to just play poker at Best Bet. That's why I come over here to the table games and play one card poker. That's a pretty good card and a win. One card poker is like war as a kid, you against the dealer. And this isn't the only fun table game to play. A friendly staff, a lot of fun. It's a good night out at Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and the newest location in St. Augustine. You can be a serious player or a novice. It doesn't matter. If winning equals fun, you're a winner every time at Best Bet. I'll save you a seat, and I'll see you down here at Best Bet St. Augustine.
What is the Amelia, if you don't know?
Do you feel it coming? The rumble in your chest, the roar of the crowd. It's an experience you won't forget. The Amalie Motor Oil NHLA Gator Nationals are back March 6th through 9th at Gainesville Raceway. It's where anticipation meets asphalt, where you can meet your heroes face to face and feel like a part of the action. Plus, parking and kids under 12 are free with general admission. The Amalie Motor Oil NHLA Gator Nationals, March 6th through 9th. Get your tickets today.
Just be yourself. Maybe we're talking about being a dad or a mom, a first responder or a teacher. Maybe it's a sports fan. We love those. We're talking about anyone in the Jacksonville community. At Community First Credit Union, just be yourself means being real. When you partner with Community First, it's straightforward. They're people connecting with you, so you can be yourself. I've been coming here to Community First for years. This is the Bartram branch, the one I usually come to. And they have mortgage loans, personal loans, and auto loans. And I'm almost done paying off that truck loan. Just a few more months. Good rates, easy online banking, and friendly customer service when I have a question. It's easy to be myself with Community First. They live up to the slogan in their name. Community First has partnerships in the Jacksonville community with the Iceman, the Florida Theater, the Jacksonville Zoo, and many more. Visit one of the Jacksonville branches or find out all you can do with Community First Credit Union at communityfirstfl.org so you can just be yourself.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show as we wrap things up on a Friday. Got the SEC and the Big Ten, Big Boy and everybody else. Once again in college football, threatening the Super League as more continues to come out, more reports about a potential 14 or 16 team playoff. And Austin, we've talked a little bit about it. I spent a good chunk of the morning show, Stadium Pulse, if you want to go rewatch that, breaking it down, everything from the preferential treatment of Notre Dame and all they've got to do is just finish in the top 14 to how the ACC should feel about it. But the one thing I'd be curious as things continue to play out, one of the things that's kind of underdeveloped, it seems like all those things are inevitable. But eventually we've got to get to a point where do we potentially see something like this in college basketball, right?
Yeah.
Or in other sports where, certain leagues are giving more auto bids than others and more preferential treatment because of this and that. And it's just crazy considering this year the SEC has taken over. But in years past, you always would have given the auto bids to teams, mostly to the ACC, right? And even like Big East or stuff like that. And had you hypothetically now, just almost a thought experiment, given preferential treatment and auto bids to those schools 10 years ago if you made it, well, then the SEC this year, because you can't change it year by year. It's all based off of contracts, as we know. The SEC would have potentially been battling it out for a few spots. Correct. And so that's just, I don't even quite know what the exact question I'm asking here is, but I just wonder, look, things change. Landscapes change. Conferences change. The SEC and the Big Ten wasn't always dominant. They have been incredible these last couple of years, and obviously they won another national championship this year. But there's got to be a rhyme or reason behind creating some kind of loophole to where, look, if the Big 12 goes on a crazy run in 20 years and we're still on this 14-team, playoff with 2 auto bids, there's going to be a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and to me, Hamby, so it's different from football than it is with basketball. Because number one, I think with college basketball and NCAA tournament, it's the perfect thing. Like, and you don't want to see it get changed too much, right? And I think we're so enthralled right now with what the SEC has done in college basketball, as you should be, right? Because there's a lot of great teams there. But how many times have we talked about a conference doing their thing in the regular season or, in conference play, let's just say, and then all of a sudden they get to the tournament and they just get, everyone starts dropping like flies. So sometimes I feel like we hype up these conferences so much based off what we're seeing, but then when it's time for the tournament or when they play other teams from different conferences, they don't do as well. So I think we have to keep that in mind a little bit. And I think the cool thing about the NCAA tournament, at least I hope so, is that it still kind of gives the mid-major, it still gives the underdog an opportunity. Right now with football, it's different, right? Because with football, size, speed, athleticism, talent, 9 times out of 10 is going to win the day. Yeah, there's some upsets every once in a while, but I always feel like with college football, and this is where me and Brent kind of disagreed a little bit, Hammy. I forgot where you fell on this. I don't think we're ever going to see a Houston or a Cincinnati from the past, or give me another example. Like a Boise State.
Yeah.
I don't ever see them winning a national championship in football.
100% agree. Cinderella does not exist.
Correct. I can see them going to, maybe an upset here or there.
Yep.
But in totality, to go in week after week and win these football games, win a national championship, it's not going to happen because especially in college football, like I said, size, physicality, speed, it will eventually win the day. And those teams will come to light. With basketball, though, it's different. So to answer your question, even though it's a long-winded answer here, I think when it comes to football, you got to be a little more catering to the conferences. You have to look at it and say, okay, these are the top conferences. We have to reward them as such. Oh, okay, I see Army over here is undefeated right now. That's great and everything, but can they actually win a national championship? Probably not. So then why are we going to include them in that? On the other side, in college basketball, Hamby, I mean, we've had many indicators. For instance, Butler was on a run for a long time where I can't remember. I don't think they ever won one. Did Butler ever win? I mean, I know that they played Duke in the finals. I don't think Butler ever won a national championship, but they've come close a couple of times. My point being, you have a lot better chance in college basketball to be a mid-major, to be an underdog. To Duke, that's what it was, yeah. You have a lot better chance in college basketball to be the mid-major and go make a
Right.
run than you do in football. So I think in college basketball, I still think you have to take a look at some of the mid-majors. You still got to take a look at, some of the underdog teams and include them. But in college football, man, just give me the top teams, please.
I hear you. Look, as we're kind of gonna look forward to March Madness here a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, a lot made about the Florida Gators, and we'll get to them in just a second. But when you look at some of the other conferences, who are some teams that stick out? Because last year a lot of the talk was about Purdue, right? And Zach Edey.
Yeah.
We know how that finished in the tournament. So some teams that you could see making a run would be who?
I mean, it's so wide open this year, Hammy, but I'm a Wisconsin Badger fan, right? So I always got to back up my Badgers a little bit. But I always think like Michigan State's always a team, and I don't even know how they're doing this. I haven't watched a lot of Big Ten basketball, but like when you get to tournament time, there's just some teams, Hamby, that are always dependable, right? And that stems from the coach. And you talk about a coach in Tom Izzo. I mean, that dude's one of the goats right now of college basketball. So I always feel like there's those tried and tested teams, even though maybe their regular season doesn't reflect how they're doing. Once it's tournament time, you always got to take them seriously.
I hear you. We're about to. There he is, right there. I might have pressed the wrong button right there, but we're Austin, hop back in. You're good. We were trying to get Patrick Young in on the show here, and so what's up, Patrick? How you doing today?
I'm doing well, guys. Thanks for having me on.
My fault, Austin. You should still be able to hear us.
We're
I
back.
hope so.
Okay, yeah. We're all good now.
Where is Austin?
Austin is out in Vegas.
Nice. Fight coming
up.
Yeah,
man. I'm in Vegas. Yeah, I got a fight coming
Let's
up
go.
on March 1st, man. So got to Vegas.
Let's go,
early,
bro.
Try to get acclimated to the weather and everything. Yeah, man, ready to roll for sure.
Let's go, man. Heck yeah. I love that you're chasing this, still chasing your dreams, bro. Heck yeah.
You
So
got
Patrick-
to, man. You got to, man. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Austin. You got it. Austin, you got it.
Well, I was gonna say, speaking of chasing something, man, the Florida Gators right now are playing at a very high level of basketball. What are you seeing from the Florida Gators, man, and just really the SEC in general?
Well, I was messaging Chris Harry. He's the beat writer for the Gators. He's been there for like 30-something years. He's been there forever. And he said to me beginning of the season, he's like, Pat, this is going to be Coach Golden's best team, because he's like, this is the first team. Everyone on the team is guys that he wants to be on the team. Like he inherited some guys that just weren't his style of play from Mike White, that just didn't deserve to be, that would not, if he still had those type of players on his team, they would not be in the position that they are now. So like, dude, they got depth, they got experience. They got a bench, a guard that can come off the bench and Denzel Aberdeen and just score the heck out of it. I mean, the fact that Micah Handlogden is healthy and could come back at such an opportune time. Alex kind of gets hurt. He's probably out for a few weeks. And now Micah gets some minutes back under him. Like, no one would ever complain about having an extra 7'1" guy coming off their bench that actually can contribute. So, like, I mean, the Gators are unbelievable. The SEC as a whole, and this was another debate I had with a buddy here in Jags, was like, my team in 2014 versus this team. He said he would edge them because of the competition level. When I graduated and we had our best season in the SEC, only 3 teams went to the tournament: us, Tennessee, and Kentucky. It's projected to have 12 teams from the SEC in the tournament this year. So that's why, like, it's just insane. Like when Greg Sankey said he was tired of only like 3 to 5 teams making it, and he wanted things to change. It happened so fast. It started with the coaching.
Yeah,
they got some great coaches in the SEC, and then now just all the coaches have really adapted and embraced the transfer portal, and also like understanding. Missouri went 0-18 last year. They went 0-18. They just beat Alabama really, really well. Like they have like 8 top 25 wins. So anyone making the complaint or argument about continuity, I get it. But like in 1 year, your team can be completely different. So yeah, that's why I guess with a lot of coaches, you can give them some leeway. We say, hey, look at them over there. They sucked last year, and now they're a top 10 team. Come on.
Yeah, well, and Patrick, and we look at kind of like the whole portal, the transfer portal, right? Like you can bring in some blue chippers right away and turn your entire team around. But then the question remains, like, yeah, you may be in contention for a conference title, but can you go to the dance and win it, right? With some of those players, because in your opinion, does it still come down to talent more, or is it more of chemistry of guys haven't played together a lot? Because you mentioned at Florida, I mean, you have some guys with experience now, and that might be the X factor in winning a title.
There's no guarantee either way. I do think, like, I'm trying to think of a team. I don't know if there's a basketball team program that took like the Dabo Swinney approach of like not wanting to get transfers, but a guy that's the exact opposite is Mark Pope. And like every single player is brand new to the program. And Kentucky basketball, I don't know if it's sacrilegious for me to say it, but they're a really fun basketball team to watch. I like, this is the first time I'm like, dang, Kentucky's about to play. I'm going to watch them because I like the way they play through their bigs and the way the fact that like every single one of these guys is brand new to each other is pretty amazing with how well they've done this year. But then you look at Arkansas and legend, great coach, great organization, Tyson Chicken behind them. And they freaking struggle. They probably spent, I don't know, $5 to $6 million on their roster. And the kid, John L. Davis, the transfer out of FAU, he's been probably one of the biggest busts in the because I mean, he came off a Final Four 2 years ago and he's averaging like 8 points a game. And they paid him, I'm sure they paid him $2 million to come. But flip side, Elijah Martin, that also was on that Final Four team that's with the Gators, he's been balling.
Yeah. It's wild, man. Hamby, go ahead, man.
Patrick, I want to ask you about, you talk about 12 teams going to the tournament and what a gauntlet that is. Florida's got LSU in Baton Rouge, I believe, tomorrow. How impressive is it that they've been able to continue? I mean, they got 3 losses on the year, and you obviously went through some grueling SEC schedules as well. How difficult is it for a coach, like, for instance, Coach Golden, to maintain, the team's focus? We might have had some issues there.
We're all right, man. We can still hear him. He's sideways, but we can still hear him.
I can't.
We can't hear him anymore. I can't hear him anymore. Neither. You don't. Yeah, something must have happened.
This
happened to me yesterday, Hamby. This happened to me yesterday.
Patrick, we might have to have you jump out, and yep, there we go. We'll be right back with him in a second. But I was going to ask, the impressiveness of being able to handle it week in and week out, especially with the SEC and going on the road. Obviously, we know how much home court, it really matters. To not look forward at all, and even in a game like LSU tomorrow, how difficult it must be for these coaches to keep their teams, locked in, focused on the task at hand, not celebrating too early, being 23-3, that's got to be pretty difficult. I think we got him back.
Well, we got him back. Yeah, great. Oh, I can't hear him, Hamby.
Yep, can't see him. That's all right. We'll get him back in a second. Go ahead, Austin.
But Hamby, I agree with you, man, because, and listen, and we can sit here and say with the SEC, like, all right, we got to see in the tournament, like, how well they actually do, but keep this in mind. Like, in the SEC you're playing right now, you can't overlook any game. I feel like there's some conferences where it's like, all right, we're playing, like, we're gonna win this game, and let's look on to next week. The SEC right now, you have to be tried, true, and tested, because every single game is going to be a battle. And I think when we talk about that, that's going to prepare you for the tournament, right? Because in the tournament, it's not like you can look ahead 2 or 3 spots. You got to focus on the task at hand. And I think playing in the SEC right now, if anything, that's going to allow you to do that even better when you get to the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, look, going over the schedule tomorrow, Florida now number 2 is at LSU. Georgia's got to go on the road and play number 1 Auburn. So I think I might conveniently forget to watch that game because that probably won't be too good for us. We got another top 10 matchup, Tennessee at A&M. Let's see, what else? Vandy's been sneaky. Ole Miss is ranked 24 right now. They go to Vandy and play them. And like you said, Missouri, they go to Arkansas and play Calipari's group.
Yep.
It's crazy, Missouri. It just seems like, for me, looking at, I watch SEC basketball, but that's pretty much it. And you're trying to find teams that, like, if you're, we take filling out a bracket so seriously, but you're trying to find some teams to be like, yeah, I think I could ride with that team. The fact that Missouri's got that sixth man, let me see his name. He does it, Grill. White dude, 6'3", just comes in, and he's literally Kyle Korver. He must run 6 miles per game, just never stops moving without the basketball, always searching, and he's shooting off, one leg all of the time. And he put up 25 in their last game against Alabama, top 5 team. Mm-hmm. It just seems like if you got that kind of depth and that a kind of guy that can shoot it like that coming off the bench, that might be a team that I like to.
That's a nice luxury to have
far.
for sure, Hamby. Yeah, that's a nice luxury to have without a doubt.
So we appreciate Patrick, but that's actually going to wrap us for today.
Yep.
We're going to get out of here a few minutes early. Appreciate everybody watching Brent Austen Show. GM candidate should be your official GM. Maybe in the next 48 hours, we got some confetti.
What? I'm doing this?
I love it.
Okay, whatever. That's new. I'll take it. Sorry. Have a great weekend, everybody, I guess.
Yes, sir. All right, guys.
Wait a minute.
When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models, or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway, or shop online at nimnickbuickgmc.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness, and most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC, we are professional grade. I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can save $500 on a Connecticut Premier Softener and get a free Connect Salt Monitor with purchase. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
The rhythm of my heart is beating like a drum, with We Are Martyr rolling off our tongues. Never will we roam, for we know our place is home. Where the ocean meets the skies, we be sailing. Where the ocean meets the skies, we be sailing.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic. From bumper to tailgate, I'm making this truck mine. It's everything that I wanted and more. From the field to the gym to weekend adventures. This truck's built for my journey. Bozard built. Customized for your lifestyle, built to exceed your expectations. Check out the inventory and available options at bozardbuilt.com. Unleash your dream ride. Customized, covered, and Bozard approved.
If you don't see a pit, it ain't legit. When you hear that, you think Bono's Pit Barbecue, a staple in Northeast Florida now for 75 years. A place that feels like home with friendly service, a meeting place for friends, family, or business occasions. On the menu, the corn nuggets are a favorite in our house, but there's something for everyone. Sandwiches, platters, salads, sides, desserts, and family feasts. You see Bono's all over the place in Northeast Florida. You know, there are almost 20 locations in the Jacksonville area now, so stop on by, sit down, and dine in with Bono's. You can also take it to go. There are drive-thrus in many of the locations, and they have delivery options too. Just download the Bono's app to make things easy. I signed up for the loyalty program, and you can too, to get special